So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
All right, and we are live with, let's see, Ben, Hovind, and Maya. Why don't you guys say hi?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
All right, so today we are going to talk about some turkey stuff. And actually, I'm going to bring up a turkey. Turkey! So it's not just going to be just turkey stuff. I'm actually going to go trace through some evolutionary lineage of some birds related to turkeys. We're going to talk about some interesting bits about wild turkeys and domesticated turkeys. Then we'll go into things like, are any of you guys eating anything interesting for your Thanksgiving dinners? Those of you in the U.S. Let's see, and then depending on how much time we have, we'll take some questions and whatnot, and we might end up watching a little bit more of the seminar that Ben and I did last time, and yelling at Kent about it.
Even though he can't hear us.
Right.
Or can he?
He can. He can just watch this. Yeah, that's all he has to do is watch this. And I know that Identify Leviathan has been sending him my stuff, asking him to respond to it.
Nice.
So it's entirely...
that is so nice of him.
I know. So it's entirely possible that Kent Hovind might do one of his, I think it's, what does he call it? Whack an Atheist, which is basically just whack a critic, because I noticed that the last person who responded to, I don't think has ever actually stated that he's an atheist. So it's just a whack people who agree with me, no matter their religious affiliation, but he's just going to assume that they're atheists, because obviously no one would ever disagree with Kent Hovind.
Well, anyone who believes in evolution is an atheist, according to Kent, even though he's actually said that you can believe in evolution and be a Christian. I think he said that, so...
Oh yeah, he said that. That's definitely a thing he has said.
So he says that, but then his other words seem like he doesn't actually believe that? I don't know.
Well, how is
really
that
don't wanna
possible when
put words in
evolution
his
is an
mouth.
atheist concept?
Yeah, apparently evolution is an atheist concept.
Well, I don't want to put words in Kent's mouth because Kent does a good enough job doing that.
That's true.
And plus, it's not fair. I really try to be fair.
Oh, and hey, Chuck McNubbin, you made it. Nice. I'm glad you weren't busy. Let's see. Also, I have to coordinate with Ben, but I'm going to try and get something going for Saturday that will be at a time that is convenient for my European fans. Because I know I have a fair few of you, and I know that a lot of my live streams happen at like 2 a.m. your time. And yeah, I know. Some of them actually still show up. I've had Lucas show up at like 2 a.m. his time, and I'm like, what are you doing up? And he's like, well, I stayed up for your stream. I'm just like, man, that is, thank you.
That's dedication.
Seriously, yeah. So I every once in a while, I like to make sure that I have a stream that my European fans can catch that doesn't, run into the times when they should definitely be sleeping. So, all right. Well, what's a turkey? Turkeys are actually, they're pretty close related to birds like quails and pheasants and chickens. This is the galliform group of birds. And so we're going to trace some evolutionary history of the galliforms, starting all the way back in the Jurassic, with one of the earliest animals that is known to science that is closer to birds than it is to any other dinosaur. Or any other dinosaur group. So we're going to start with Jehalornis prima. And this is a painting by Mick Blackneck, which I assume isn't his real name, from the Wikimedia Commons. And so this is sort of the first kind of pan-avian that we... Or, sorry, not the first, but it's one of the most primitive pan-avians that we have found. And so some of the very primitive features that you can see, it still has a very toothy, non-beaked mouth, has a long, bony tail. And interestingly, notice anything on its feet?
Claws?
You might notice something from Jurassic Park.
Toes?
Come on. What's with that big old toe claw right there?
It's a claw.
Yeah, it's like a raptor claw, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's
So-
like they're related.
It actually turns out that it seems like the whole, it's technically called a hypertrophy digit 2, or to be less formal, the killer claw that you see in raptors and troodons, are probably actually just a primitive characteristic for the whole group that includes birds and the raptors. So, yeah, and there is a dew claw, which actually will turn into the reversed toe in a lot of birds. It's used for perching. That dew claw. But yeah, we're at the stage where basically the things that would become birds are essentially indistinguishable from the things that would become raptors, like Velociraptor or Utah Raptor. And yet there are some details of the anatomy here, especially things with the fine details of the hand bones and shoulder joint, that put Jehilornis a bit closer to the bird side. So this is the sort of thing that you would be getting in sort of the mid-Jurassic. Yeah. So and so now we have Confuciusornis by D. Finn for the American Museum of Natural History. You can already tell this thing is significantly more like a modern bird. Right? It's got a beak. But one of the weird things is that beaks have evolved like 14 million times in dinosaurs. That's, I mean, obviously not that, but like, one, two. I can think of at least 5 different instances of independently evolved beak dinosaurs.
I can't think of any.
Well, that's fair. So there's actually some good reason to think that this beak is not actually ancestral to bird beaks, because Confuciusornis is an enantiornithine, which basically means backwards bird. That's because the way their shoulder girdle is arranged is essentially reversed from that of birds. So the exact details of how that works aren't too important, but we can still see that even at this point, birds still had their 3 theropod fingers, each with a claw, each separate from each other, as very distinct digits. So now we're getting into periods like, the late Jurassic or early Cretaceous. And then we get to Enantiornis, which one of the big adaptations that we have here is we have a fully keeled sternum. So, have you ever carved a turkey?
Oh yeah.
So you know how when you carve the breasts, there's that weird shaped bone right under them? It has a ridge on it, and it kind of lays out dorsally.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah? Well, that's a keeled sternum. It's what attaches all those breast muscles, which are the muscles for the downstroke. The reason birds have such big breast muscles is because that's what's powering their flight. So, and now we're actually getting into our first thing that's actually a crown bird. So, a crown group is the group that is all of the common ancestor of 2 related species and all of its descendants. So, crown birds you could define as, crown birds are the group of animals that have, the group of animals descended from the most common recent ancestor of, say, ostriches and finches. And this is a paleognathe bird, which means it's actually more closely related to animals like ostriches, tinamous, kiwis, rheas, cassowaries. Those are all paleognathe birds, and they're called that because of certain relatively primitive characteristics in the jaw. But this is Lithornis by Jack Wood, as well as one by Sheatharius, who's actually seen some of my videos, and I'm not sure, but might actually be a subscriber. I know he's commented on some of my videos. He's actually the artist who did the Serena website that I put in a previous video. So the interesting thing here is that this bird is actually found from just after the Cretaceous tertiary extinction. But the current thinking is that it probably originated as a genus just before the end of the Cretaceous, so before the end of the extinction of the dinosaurs. And I wanted to point this out because paleognathe birds are the sister group to neognathe birds, which is the rest of the bird family. Like everything else that's not a paleognathe is a neornathe in terms of modern birds, and it's almost all bird species. This is our first major split among birds. But then we get to Vegavis, which has like the least convenient ever species name. Oops. In here. Just let me zoom in, you stupid computer. So, yeah. I don't know how to pronounce that, do you? Yeah, I don't know. It's actually...
Vegavis AI.
Right, exactly. But anyway, this painting is by Nicole Fuller from Seo Art at the University of Texas, Austin. So, and this, I mean, it's a duck, right?
Well, of course.
I mean, basically, that's the thing, is that basically it is a duck. But this is from the Cretaceous. There were ducks walking around with dinosaurs like T-Rex and Triceratops. That's how old the line of ducks is, but the thing is that ducks are galliforms, are anseriforms, and turkeys are galliforms, and together they make up the Gallo-Anseri, which is the first group to split off from the neonate birds and diversify, which they did way back in the Cretaceous. The Cretaceous not only had basically things that were ducks and swans, but it also basically had things like chickens and pheasants too. Now, they weren't the modern groups, but they were ancestral to them, and morphologically were pretty much the same. So it turns out that fowl, which is basically all of the birds in that group, which interestingly are also pretty much the only birds that humans regularly eat, yeah, all the way back to before the mass extinction that wiped out all the other dinosaurs. So,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. And here we go.
No wonder they don't fly well. The chickens, that is. They're so tired from being so old. Yeah.
It's true. So then we get to the oldest known galliform. So this is actually something that is on the line leading to chickens and grouse and turkeys and all this. This is Agrolipes, and I don't know the species on this because the artist didn't bother to specify, by Scott Reed. And so you can see that it's definitely a ground bird. I mean, it has very well developed feet. It doesn't have perching toes. Its wings are still good enough to let it fly, which is true for a lot of wild ground fowl. Actually, I don't think there are any ground fowl that can't fly. Turkeys can actually fly. Wild ones. Let's see. Checkmate Gummin said, so many fowl species were also migratory? I mean, a lot of them are now. It's more common for waterfowl to be migratory than it is for groundfowl. Waterfowl generally are better flyers than groundfowl. So the groundfowl are the galliforms, and the waterfowl are the anseriforms, which include ducks, swans, geese. The geese, the biggest assholes of all birds. Geese suck. Alright. And then we're going to get to the actual turkeys. And turkeys have a fossil record extending back a few million years as identifiably turkey. The genus Meleagris, which contains the two modern turkey species, also contains an extinct Meleagris californicus from a few tens of thousands of years ago.
Okay, but I thought there was no fossil record. So I'm confused.
It turns out there is a fossil record.
What?
All of the fossils, which provide
it's a record of the fossils.
Right.
Oh.
Which themselves provide a record of past life, because by definition a fossil is a piece of evidence of past life.
Well, all you know is that it died. You don't know that it lived.
True.
Or that it had parents.
Alright, so
Or who it married.
this is a male wild turkey. You can tell it's a male because of the extremely large snood and wattle, as well as a little beard that comes out towards the middle of the breast. So there you go. The little fleshy bit that drops down from the top of its nose, that is technically called a snood. S-N-O-O-D. Here, learn something. That's a...
Pretty good name for it.
Yeah. So, male turkeys are sometimes called gobblers or toms, and female turkeys are called hens. Male turkeys can get up to about 18 pounds in the wild, and females tend to get up to about 8 or so. That usually takes them about 4 years of growth. And female turkeys turkeys mate in the spring, and they lay clutches of around 3 or 4 eggs, which is pretty low for galliforms. One of the interesting things about gallo-and-sere is that while most birds rarely lay more than 2 eggs at a time, gallo-and-sere birds lay up to a dozen or so. One of the reasons why you see so many ducklings following ducks for gallo-and-sere birds. But for a galliform bird, 4 is actually pretty low for a clutch. So, domesticated turkeys, however, lay about 4 eggs a week because they are artificially induced to lay eggs year-round, and the eggs are removed from their nests every day in order to keep laying. And unlike with chickens, the majority of turkey eggs are actually fertilized because people don't generally eat turkey eggs. I haven't checked up on this, but I heard that turkey eggs were about 7 times as expensive as chicken eggs, based on things like how much you have to feed a turkey, how much less frequently they lay eggs, and how much bigger the egg is. So, yeah, that's a reason that we don't eat. So, you guys got any guesses for when turkeys were first domesticated by humans?
I don't know.
700 years ago.
Okay. Ben, what do you think?
I'll guess 20,000 years. I have no idea.
Well, Maya is definitely closer, but it's actually about 1,200 years ago. So turkeys were first domesticated in what's now central Mexico, where they were primarily used for meat. But then later, sometime around 1100 AD, or CE, whatever you want to call it, another group of turkeys, domesticated turkeys, start showing up in the archaeological record, and it's not clear if they're descended from those domesticated turkeys in central Mexico, or whether it's a second domestication event. But in either case, they were originally kept primarily for their feathers, because in much of the sort of central North American area that's now the US, turkey feathers were used in religious ceremonies in Native American cultures. So they were raised for their feathers. And only later were they do we start seeing evidence of widespread human consumption of domesticated turkeys. But there's also a weird thing about turkeys in that they share their name with a country. In fact, if you just Google turkey, most of what comes up is the country. And so it's a curious thing because turkeys are actually named after that country.
Really?
Yeah.
The country is Turkey, eh?
Yeah.
So,
which is a place where turkeys don't really come from, right?
And there's that.
Yeah. So how is this? It's a weird sort of thing, right? So as it turns out, as the Columbian Exchange was going on and the transatlantic trade was picking up, the first people from Europe to really start importing turkeys for raising in domesticated flocks in the old world happened to be Turks. And so they started selling turkeys and turkey products into Western Europe, where the people there associated the birds themselves, with the Turks who were selling them, because it was much faster to get a turkey from, say, what's now modern Turkey, or than what was part of the Ottoman Empire in Greece. Much easier to get a bird from there to, say, France or London or something than it is from all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. So the birds were primarily associated with the Turks who were farming them at the time. So they were called turkey fowl, with turkey cocks and turkey hens. But then eventually the cock and hen just kind of fell away, and now we have turkeys. So there you go. Yeah.
It's a
What?
delightful story.
It's a true little fact about how turkeys got their name despite not being from Turkey, but still named after the country.
I just thought it was like two completely different. No, do we have any
Oh.
idea what the Turks called them?
I actually don't know what the word for turkey is in Turkish, but $2 from Michael McCarthy can be classified as Meleagris Hovind. I mean, he's about as smart as the average turkey. Which, by the way, turkeys are right. They have a rightful reputation for being extremely stupid.
They do.
Turkeys are, in fact, quite dumb. They're not quite as dumb as some of the legends about them. Like, there's a legend that turkeys are so dumb that if it's raining, they'll raise their heads up and drown in the rain that collects in their lungs. That's not true. They seek shelter.
I mean, okay,
in the
but their
rain.
whole job in life is to eat and be delicious. So
Well,
I mean,
if you're a wild turkey, your whole point in life is to eat and have babies.
it's a great life, though.
I mean, yeah, that's to be fair. That's the whole point of life for most animals. I mean, for most animals, eat enough, have plenty of babies is pretty much the goal. But
All right. So how badly do you have to mess that up to be coined as the dumbest animal?
well, the thing is, they're not really messing up. Their turkeys are doing great. There are millions of turkeys all over the United States and into parts of Mexico and Canada, and they are quite a healthy population. But
Yeah. Well, thank you, humans.
But they also fall for stupid things like people putting bits of plastic in their mouth and making sound like a turkey, and then they just come.
Oh, wait
up
a
with
minute.
all-
And the turkey, wasn't that the one that said the sky is falling?
I thought that was Chicken Little.
Oh, wait. I'm thinking of Turkey Lurkey.
Well, chickens are also
Turkey Lurkey fell for it.
yes. Well, the thing is, chickens are also galliforms and are also notoriously stupid.
Chickens are stupid.
Yeah. So, but one thing
And
about
also delicious.
yes, although I actually prefer turkey meat, but that's
Yeah,
just
you do.
too. Actually, I had a turkey sandwich yesterday. So, yeah. And I'm planning on having more turkey tomorrow.
We'll see about that.
Okay. I'm actually planning on having Bent Hovind here cook the turkey for me.
We will see about that.
Bent is such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Hey, if
I
something
do what
comes
I
up,
can.
if something comes up and it doesn't work out, let me know. I won't drive out.
Well, I got a turkey that's defrosting right now, so I think it should be fine.
It should be brining by now. What are you talking about, man? Come on.
I wouldn't worry about that.
All right.
How are you going to cook it?
I wouldn't worry about that.
Now I am worried about it. That actually makes me worry about it.
It's just gonna go in the oven. I'm not gonna do anything fancy.
Hey, if you want, I can show up with some bacon. You can put bacon on top of the turkey before it goes in the oven.
I'm okay with that.
All right. Yeah. Hey, I mean, the bacon grease gets down into the turkey, helps keep it moist, and also infuses it with bacon flavor.
I mean,
And then
that's gonna happen.
And then when the turkey is done, so is the bacon. So you also get bacon.
Yeah,
It's pretty win-win in my opinion.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah. So, one thing is, a lot of people think that turkeys can't fly. Not true. But because they're ground birds and they nest and spend most of their time on the ground when they're eating, most people just don't ever see them fly. But actually, turkeys can hit speeds of 55 miles an hour in the air. So they're not slouches when it comes to flying. Turkeys also typically roost in trees. So when they're going to go to sleep for the night, they fly up into a tree. And turkeys will actually get favorite trees they roost in. Scout out particular spots where they want to sleep there night after night. But the thing is, like most ground birds, they don't have a lot of stamina in the air, and they have very active flight patterns. So you get birds like eagles, right, that barely ever flap. In fact, vultures are really the king of this. You watch a vulture for an hour and have it flap like twice the whole time. But all ground fowl have extremely active flight because they are primarily adapted for terrestrial locomotion. So they're not super aerodynamic. their wings aren't particularly large, their size, or even all that strong. So yeah, they can fly, in fact, quite fast, but they can't just doing it. Gonna stop after a while. And also, turkeys are domesticated, and so this is a flock of domesticated turkeys. And so domesticated turkeys can't fly because while it takes a gobbler in the wild about 4 or 5 years to hit 18 pounds, domesticated turkeys can hit 30 pounds space of about 20 weeks.
What?
I can't even do that.
Yeah. So domesticated turkeys can grow from hatchling turkeys to a 20-pound bird in a few months. They have been intensively bred for large size, especially for breast meat, which is the most valuable meat as far as the economy is concerned. Yeah. And in fact, that's about how long the average domesticated turkey lives. So there's an extremely rapid life cycle for domesticated turkeys. Basically, there are several different kinds of turkey farms. There are male and female turkeys are kept in separate farms to avoid any injuries during mating because domesticated turkeys are too large to mate naturally. They literally can't have sex. And they haven't had sex since the 60s. Ever since about the 60s, all domesticated turkeys are created through artificial insemination. And the female turkeys are basically kept constantly inseminated so that their 4 or so eggs a week will actually hatch into chicks. About 80% of them end up being viable in the end. And so turkey farmers will daily collect the eggs from the female or hen farms and send them off to special incubation facilities where thousands upon thousands of eggs are held in storage. And you can actually hold an egg dormant if you keep it cool enough and moist enough for a very long period. But then once they're taken out of incubation, they take a few weeks to hatch, at which point they're sent off to another farm where they'll grow for a few weeks until they are large enough to be included with the hens or toms, at which point they're carefully separated by the two sexes and sent off to their respective farms where they will reach their full size in about 20 weeks or so and then be slaughtered. And that is the life cycle of a domesticated turkey.
Well, now I'm depressed.
Yeah.
So the average the average U.S. citizen eats about 17 pounds of turkey a year.
I think I'm below average.
Yeah, definitely.
You might be. But the other thing that you might forget about, though, is like anytime you ever have like a turkey burger or some turkey meat from the deli or anything, that's factored in too. The amount of turkey that you eat that you think about, like, oh, I'm going to go make a turkey, is pretty small compared to how much turkey you eat overall. Most turkey meat is not consumed as whole roasted birds. In fact, most turkeys, when they're slaughtered, are not going to end up as a butterball turkey in a frozen food section of your grocery store. Most of them are going to end up being processed in factories where they basically have assembly machines taking apart turkeys into different cuts of meat, which all go to separate places. So yeah. Also, this is a pretty typical density for how many turkeys end up in the same area on a turkey farm. They generally don't actually have enough space to spread their wings if they want. So yeah. Also, an interesting thing is that in the wild, the thing that makes turkey hens start ovulating is the change in light patterns from mostly light, a little dark in terms of, as the spring with the days getting longer. So to artificially induce year-round ovulation in domesticated turkeys, they keep sun lamps on for 16 hours a day. which forces the turkeys to forces their reproductive system to be constantly active. But the other thing that would shut down the egg laying is if their nests got enough eggs in them, then they would start brooding. So to prevent them from brooding and keep them laying, that's why the eggs have to be removed daily. So yeah, that is domestication for turkeys, which is actually pretty similar to how it is for most chickens. The thing that people seem to forget is people think of domesticated chickens and turkeys and things living on a farm where they wander around pecking at seeds from the ground, eating worms and stuff. But the scale of meat consumption in the economically developed world is such that that is not an economically viable solution. Instead, turkeys and chickens are grown to adult size at an accelerated pace, induced to lay eggs at an artificially rapid pace, kept packed together, and slaughtered after only a few months of life.
That's pretty depressing.
Yeah, it is.
Just love like how like the day before Thanksgiving he just dashes all your hopes and dreams of like the happy life your turkey had led up until it landed on your table.
All right, I'm gonna go take that turkey back to the store.
Yeah, your turkey led a crowded, claustrophobic life where it's been genetically induced to reach a size that actually causes joint problems within the space of a few months, and then it has been unceremoniously killed, stripped of its feathers, gutted, and shipped to the groceries. Let's see. Chick McNubbin, are turkey eggs also sold in shops in the US? I don't know of any shops that sell them. They're extremely expensive if you want. They're not a typical food item in the US. And Illuminati Don does have solar lights in his barn. It helps the hens lay more eggs. Yeah. So it's actually not too uncommon for the spawning of animals in general to be controlled based on the day length. That's something you'll find in birds. You'll find it in many mammals. You'll even find it in coral and sponges. So there you go. And for only $116 plus shipping, you can get a 12 to 16 pound pasture-raised turkey from White Oaks Pastures, where 1/3 of the babies are eaten by eagles every year.
Whoa.
So here's the thing. Look, I am not a big fan of factory farming, but I also understand that pasture-raised and cruelty-free animal products are extremely expensive. And I'm not going to tell you not to get cheaper protein in your diet. And, yeah. You know, it's a matter of your own conscience and budget. So, there you go. So, let's see. We have traced the evolution of turkeys all the way from the mid-Jurassic into the modern era. We've talked about wild turkey. Actually, not that long ago, in the, I believe in like the 1930s or so, wild turkeys were almost extinct in the United States. It turns out
they're alive.
Well, yeah, so it turns out that turkeys are really easy to kill because basically a gobbler, which is a male turkey, will start approaching anything that even vaguely sounds like a hen during the mating season. Because, I mean, like most animals, their big goal is, oh, hey, I'm gonna go have a lot of babies. And that's especially true for males because male animals have an advantage and disadvantage when it comes to breeding game. Disadvantage is there's no way for a male to ever actually be able to tell if he's successfully bred, because simply mating does not actually ensure that any offspring will, and it doesn't even ensure that the offspring that that particular female has are his. Why many animals have different forms of sperm competition, where they evolve strategies to make sure that their sperm is the sperm that actually fertilizes the eggs of the female. That's the big disadvantage to be. But it comes with the simultaneous advantage that if you in fact can mate, you can essentially mate with a huge number of females, and so your potential offspring number is much higher than that of any given female. Because the investment in your own personal resources that it takes to create offspring is significantly lower. And so, while many birds are kind of famously monogamous, Gallo-Anserae are not, and in fact are rather promiscuous in terms of breeding. And many of them form flocks where a male will have 4 to 5 females. And so, because of that, they tend to be relatively easy to hunt during mating season with fake calls. That's why you get duck calls and turkey calls and quail calls and things like that. And because wild turkeys have so much meat compared to pretty much any other fowl in North America, up into the 30s they were being hunted essentially to extinction by commercial hunters. Because this factory-style farming wasn't really established yet. But eventually, hunting controls were put into place, and now in most places in the United States, in a season, any given hunter is only allowed to take a maximum of 2 birds, and they have to pay for the tax to do so. And this has led to the resurgence of the wild turkey as now a common scene throughout the temperate parts of the United States. In fact, I grew up in a place where turkeys would occasionally harass people in large numbers. There were times when people couldn't leave their homes or places of work because there was a flock of turkeys that were aggressive, that were just hanging out outside the door.
So, like, pigeons and steroids.
Yeah, yeah. But also the male, so you know how roosters have spurs?
Right.
So do male turkeys. Except
Did not know
theirs
that.
can be up to an inch long. You do not want to get kicked by a turkey spur.
No, I do not.
So they're actually pretty dangerous. A turkey will actually cause some pretty serious injury. Like, if it comes down to a fight to the death between you and a gobbler, you'll probably win, but you won't come away unscathed.
And that's why I eat turkeys at Thanksgiving,
Right.
to remind them who's really in charge.
Right, exactly. And Illuminati Dawn, it is true that many geese mate for life. Geese and swans are unusual among Gallo-Anserian birds in that they are typically pretty devotedly monogamous, to the point that some of them will actually refuse to take new mates if their old mate dies. But ducks are certainly not that way. In fact, male ducks have been known to form gangs and pin down unwilling female partners and then all have sex with them.
I did hear about that.
Yeah, turns out that ducks form rape gangs. Which is, I mean, I guess that's nature. Yeah, it's not great to hear about, but then again, I'm not going to impose, a human set of ethical principles on a bunch of birds. So, I mean, yeah.
It's pretty vicious. I mean, birds really are dinosaurs.
That's true. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you realize that the things that humans find unacceptable and acceptable do not translate across the animal kingdom. I mean, even inside mammalia, like, if a new male lion takes over a pride, his first act is usually to hunt down all of the lion cubs and kill every single one of them. Because then the females in the pride will go back into heat, because now they're no longer taking care of young. So, nature is full of things that if a human did it, you'd find it completely not okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, turkeys, man. Birds, lions.
Humans.
I mean, humans too, although at least when humans do things like that, other humans that find out are usually not too happy about that. And, yeah. I mean, that's the kind of thing that's basically been pretty illegal in every human society. So at least there's that. Yeah.
At least there's that.
Yeah. I mean, humans do do horrible things too, but...
Alright, so when do we bring all the little children in and start to tell them about Santa Claus?
That will have to wait for a stream in December. If you guys want to hear trivia about Santa Claus, at the time that Santa Claus got put in prison for slapping a dude, that'll be in December, if you want.
Note to self: keep children away from dappers.
Yeah. By the way, YouTube and the FTC, this channel is not for kids.
You still have to change your setting, though.
I did change the setting. So, let's see. I think that's probably it for the turkey per se thing. But I have a couple things. One is, anyone who's watching now, if you haven't already, go check out Ben's Twitch channel. Because he is currently doing a playthrough of Mass Effect. It's his first ever playthrough of Mass Effect. And, yeah, it's really good, so check that out. Also, there's currently a poll on my community tab. So don't go click away from this screen, but check that out. See what's in there. Let's see. Also, I would like to ask the audience, what, other than this sort of standard, like, oh, I'm gonna roast a turkey and make some stuffing and cranberry sauce and stuff like that, anything interesting you're all preparing for Thanksgiving? I guess we'll start actually with Maya. Maya, what are you making for Thanksgiving? Or what's being made? I don't know who's doing
My husband, I, and my daughter are cooking. She's got some stuff she's doing. There's a few things I'm doing. He insists on frying a bird every year.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have to like clear a space and, call the fire marshal and
You have to call the fire marshal for Thanksgiving, huh?
well, if you're gonna fry a turkey, yeah. Well, I mean, literally, but it's dangerous, actually.
No, it is. There are lots of videos out there of people putting in a bird into a deep fryer and having the whole thing just blow up.
But freaking delicious.
Oh yeah, well I mean it's fried and it's turkeys.
I can't imagine anything being better except bacon.
Well, drop some bacon in there. Fry it in bacon grease this year. That's what we do.
I think it peanut oil?
Yeah, that's a pretty common frying oil. I think it's because it has a high smoke point or something. And hey, Sloffer? Soffer? I don't know how to say that name. But, welcome. So, yeah, let's see. No cooking for me this year, praise Jesus, from Michael McCarthy. Fair enough. So wait, is there also going to be a baked turkey? Like, is there a turkey going in the oven? Or is that roasted? I don't know. Is that also happening at the at Maya's house?
Oh,
Or is it just the fried?
no, yeah, I don't even like turkey. It's something everybody else insists on. It's, I don't know, I mean, it's like, it's dry.
Not if you do it well.
Sure. I hear it's done really well, but it's turkey. So, I don't know. I didn't get the memo, apparently.
So, I find the thing with putting a bird in the oven is that every different kind of bird, and what's a kind, I know, every different bird is gonna require something different. So like, you put a duck in there, and the concern there is, are you gonna make it too? You put a turkey in there, and the concern is it gonna get too dry?
Mm-hmm.
For me, the thing with chicken is, I never trust time estimates because it never seems to cook around the time that I'm expecting it to. So, but there are tricks that you can use to make sure that your turkey is going to come out more moist. One is a brine soak. Put the turkey in some brine for 24 hours before you're going to put it in the oven. Then, about 2 hours before it's going to actually go in the oven, take it out of the brine, pat it dry inside and out, and then let it sit in a cool place like the refrigerator for a couple hours. Then when it goes in the oven, cover at least the breast with tinfoil. And then get a meat thermometer and take it out when the breast meat is about 170 and the thigh meat is about 180 Fahrenheit. Do all those things, if you do a little basting here and there, you should have a nice, moist turkey that isn't too dry. That's Dapper's turkey recipe, everyone.
I just read
So
the bag
who's
and
cooking the
do a
turkey?
good job. I'm cooking it.
You're definitely cooking it.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I mean, you didn't seem convinced or like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, it's happening.
Well, there's a turkey at Bent's house right now, so hopefully it's in a brine, but I suspect it's not.
It's not in a brine.
You should fix that.
I have it taken care of.
Okay.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. But
So are we waiting for the turkey to walk over to the brine and like put itself in it?
I wouldn't worry about the recipe I have.
okay.
Look, it's
Alright.
good enough for the bag, so it's good enough for
The bag. By the way,
It's not the first time I'm doing a turkey.
By the way, so I am extremely thirsty and I need some caffeine because I've been a little down today. I'm gonna grab a little bit of caffeine, and Bent, why don't you try to convince people that your vote on my current poll is better?
Look,
I'll
just
be right back.
vote for the Turian and not the Pokemon, because then I'll get the thing that I want to see. That's it. That's my whole case. Vote for what I want you to vote for, because I want you to vote for it.
Damn it, Ben. You're supposed to be carrying the show.
What more reasoning do you need than that?
I don't know. Like, why is it better?
It's better because I care more about the Turian than the Pokemon, because I'm playing Mass Effect for the first time, and it's a Mass Effect thing.
Oh, hell, holy Mass Effect.
I mean, that's all I got. I'm not going to make up some nonsense about, like, it's the moral thing to do or some crap like that. Like, it's just what I want to see. So, you guys want to see something else? Vote for the Pokemon.
Well, no, they're not allowed to vote for the Pokemon because you want to see Mass Effect.
Well, they can still do what they want to do, but they just have to do the thing that I want them to do for me to be happy with their decision.
Okay, so I think I get this. So do what I want you to do first,
Or else.
and then when we're done, you can go do whatever you want to do, as
Oh.
long as it's not something that I don't want you to not do.
Vote how I want you to vote, or else vote
Vote
the other way.
Right. So,
And you gotta pay attention to the end of that, or else vote the other way.
so I am going to say that the, did I miss? Alright, I'm telling you now, if it wasn't a super chat, I'm not going to go back and check it since I was gone, so take that! But anyway, so the other option, of course, is Kyogre from Pokemon's Pliosaur, because that is the animal that I thought most closely resembled that particular Pokemon. In case you don't know, that is the water legendary Pokemon from Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, I believe. Yeah, I think so. It's also the one that should be on the cover of the game cartridge for Sapphire. Yeah.
Do you have either of those?
Either of what?
The pictures.
Oh, yeah, I can find a picture of Kyogre. Of course, it won't look super a lot like a Pliosaur, which is how I'm going to do it. But, okay, so this is Kyogre. So my reasoning for making it a Pliosaur is that it seems to primarily propel itself with fins, and it's not clear in the animation whether it's really propelling itself with its back limbs, because they're weird, but the only thing that really kind of uses four limbs to propel itself in the fossil record, or really anywhere that we know of, are plesiosaurs, and because it has a short neck, I went with Pliosaur, because those are the short necked plesiosaurs. So there you go. There's Kyogre. And I'll actually do a pliosaur so you can see what that actually is. Yeah, that'll work. So this is a pliosaur. Probably go with a slightly shorter tail. This tail actually looks too long to me. But yeah, so what I'll basically do is I'll make a pliosaur and I will apply the kind of coloration pattern of Kyogre to it. That's the idea there. And then for Turian, I'm probably going to go with a male Turian just because they're sort of the Turian that you tend to see in the game a lot. There's I actually checked up on this, and there are like 2 female Turians in all of Mass Effect.
Spoilers.
Okay. So let's see. Yeah, there you go. Turian concept. So there you go. Those are the 2 options. Yeah, if I do a Turian, it's not going to be a particular one. It's not going to be like Garrus or any other particular one. Although I even think of another one. I guess there's Lorik. That's another named Turian. I only know that because I just recently completed his quest line in Mass Effect. So yeah, those are the options for that poll. Let's see. So channel news, there's a little bit of that. My next video is probably not going to be the next Genesis Apologetics Should Apologize, because I need to take a little bit of a break from that, because responding to those 2 is starting to make me want to punch myself in the face. Which, with such short arms, it's hard to do. But yeah, so I'm actually planning on starting a new irregular series called Things That Aren't Dinosaurs, where I take a look at animals that people think are dinosaurs, but that aren't, and I give a little bit of a quick educational video about that particular animal. So I already have one scripted. It's on plesiosaurs. So the next video should be out sometime towards the beginning of next week, I hope. It will be called Things That Aren't Dinosaurs, Episode 1, Plesiosaurs. Or maybe Things That Aren't Dinosaurs, Plesiosaurs, Episode 1, somewhere in there. I don't know. So yeah, but then after that, I will do the next Genesis Apologetics Should Apologize. And you know what? I'm going to do something kind of cool.
Everything you do is really cool. You're gonna have to narrow that down.
I'm gonna let you guys get a little behind the scenes peek. So this is the file that I use as the basis for my animated videos. So go here. Make sure I make it fill up actual little window here in OBS. Alright. So this is the 3D viewport, and you can see my rig here. I can move stuff around. And then I can turn on more parts of the set.
Interesting.
So there we go. There's the set. Got my bowl of oranges, my replicator. Fish tank is in here. You can't see the fish, but I promise they're in there. Actually, you can see them if I go to this. There. Yeah. So. Now you guys are getting a little bit behind the scenes look at how I make my videos. So the normal process I go is I'll write a script, And if it's a response video, what I'll tend to do is I'll write the script as I watch the video. So I'll watch the video, get a point I want to respond to, make a cut in my editing software right there, write out the script, and I'll keep those cuts so I know where my parts are going to go in. And then I will record those. The parts that need to be animated, I'll drop into here. I'll sync up the mouth movement, which is on this phone here. I'll sync up that mouth movement to match, and then animate some broad motions like where my hand's going, which way am I facing, stuff like that. And then there's some procedural animation that gets put onto the hip, tail, and basically just those that keep me from looking too static. And yeah, there's some cool behind the scenes stuff. This is Blender 3D, and I made everything in this except this bowl of oranges.
Wow.
Yep. Bowl of oranges I downloaded.
So the chat is really seeming to love your, not to get off topic,
Oh.
but the chat is really seeming to love your idea about things that are not dinosaurs.
Oh, good. Yeah, and I see someone's like, oh, what about Dimetrodon or Pteranodon? And yeah, I think.
But he saw a pterodon flying in Texas.
Yeah, so
That's a thing.
yeah, so Kent a couple months ago had someone on his channel claiming to have seen a Pteranodon flying across the highway in Texas. Which, I mean...
And he put this person on the air as if they were like a credible human being.
Yes, he did. Yeah, because for some reason Kent Hovind thinks that the existence of modern pterosaurs would be some kind of problem for the theory of evolution. I'm not...
All right, so here's what would be a problem for evolution.
Okay.
God speaking animals into existence.
I mean, that
Yeah.
would be a problem. There are a lot of things that could be problems for evolution. That's
Sure.
just
But,
not
you know,
one of them.
I'm not saying anything at all negatively about the Bible. But in the beginning, God said, let there be light, and there was light. And you get to day 6 where God said, let there be animals, and animals appeared. So now if you're Christian, the way I was a Christian, I grew up with nuns laughing at YUCs about how stupid they were.
Which is fair.
Clearly, God set all of this in motion, which is what most Christians believe. So the whole thing where you're taking things literally, like, well, okay, yeah, sure, God said it and it was done, but maybe it took more than a literal day. But if it actually did take a literal day, we should be able to see that.
Yeah, you'd think so. Yeah, there's really no good reason to believe in Earth creationism. You don't have to believe in it to be a Christian. It's so obviously, I mean, it really is on the same level as Flat Earth, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of how reasonable it is to believe. So,
How big was the smallest dinosaur?
the smallest dinosaur is...
Oh, I think I know this one.
Okay.
It's the hummingbird.
Well, it's a particular hummingbird. It's the bumblebee hummingbird, which I believe is about 1.5 inches long.
Okay, well, so what if we're talking like, ancient fossils? What's the smallest fossil dinosaur?
I believe the smallest known Mesozoic non-avian dinosaurs are Alvarezsaurids, which are a South American group of primarily, assumed to be insectivores. They seem to have been like the anteaters of Mesozoic South America. And I think I can pull up a picture of one. The most famous is probably Mononicus, which it's not particularly, it's really not that small, but it's one of the problems with fossils is that the fossil record tends to heavily prefer large animals over small ones. So you get a skewed view of ancient ecosystems where you get more of the large animals than is actually what was likely present in the. So that's But yeah, here is a Mononychus with a house cat for scale. No. So you could find them in parts of. You could find Alvarezsaurids in parts of North America, Western North America, South America, China. They were first found in South America. Oh, little Mononychus. So those are some of the smallest ones, and one of the problems is that you have a lot of fragmentary bits of small dinosaurs. Like, did you see that? There was a dinosaur tail in amber. Did you hear about that?
No, not recently.
Okay, so it was from the Jurassic period, and had feathers on it, which is we actually found preserved Jurassic feathers. So yeah, this is a Jurassic. I mean, there's ants in there too and such, but this is a Jurassic era dinosaur. And look at these beautiful feathers that are preserved in here.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's just straight up a bit of a dinosaur.
That's amazing.
I know. It was a really big deal when it happened. It's yeah.
When was that?
When was it discovered? Wasn't that long ago. I don't remember off the top of my head though. I think it was late 2016. And it was found in Myanmar, according to the. So this actually was probably smaller than that animal, although it's not clear if it was an adult. So if this were an adult, it would mean this animal were about the size of a sparrow. One of those examples where I said, like, we don't have a lot of skeletons of dinosaurs that small, but there probably were some. And actually, I'll bring up the artist's impression that created association with fossil, which I don't believe actually has a genus or species, because the amount that has been recovered is not enough to do phylogenetic analysis on it. But this is sort of a, hey, it's the Jurassic period, have a sort of basalish Maniraptoran of about the size of a sparrow, what would it probably look like? And so you basically get the most generic basal Maniraptoran that you can draw at that size. But yeah, so there you go. Dinosaur tail in amber. There was also there's a Cretaceous Antiornithine chick.
But a chick track?
Yes. So if you remember, I talked about enantiornithine birds, which were a group of birds that they were thriving throughout the Jurassic and Cretaceous, but they all went extinct at the end of the Cretaceous period. And I'm going to see if I can get a good picture of that, because it was basically a whole dinosaur from the Mesozoic preserved in amber. It's not quite as visually stunning when you look at it, because the amber isn't as clear, and there's but it's basically the entire animal. Yeah, so here we go. So it's not very clear exactly what you're seeing here, but yeah. There's pretty much an entire chick here, so you can see the claws, the tail, face and neck are preserved inside this. So this isn't a bird from the time of the dinosaurs, preserved in amber, and it was a chick, so it's, you know, it's a baby, but yeah, there it is. So it's an exciting time for research into the evolution of birds. I mean, there's a lot of really great fossils being produced in the Jurassic and Cretaceous fossil-bearing layers in China, especially in the Liaoning province. I mean, parts of dinosaurs in amber. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff going on right now. So, and then
But what's up with like there's been a lot of I think we know about the feathers usually because they're preserved in amber. Like, do we know anything about, I mean, is it their diet or what's going on? Like, why are so many dinosaurs trapped in like tree sap?
well, so first, there aren't that many. It's actually pretty uncommon. Most amber doesn't have any fossils, and most fossils in amber are, in fact, small insects. Vertebrate fossils in amber are almost unheard of. Like, it's extremely uncommon, and most of those are lizards that are very small. Basically, finding a couple dinosaurs in amber is mostly just dumb luck. That's basically what it comes down to. Most of the dinosaur our evidence of dinosaurs with feathers and things that we have come from fine-grained sediment in places like Solnhofen, Germany, limestone quarries, or the Ishian Formation in Liaoning. So that's mostly actually sedimentary rock. Most of this stuff. But the nice thing about these fossils in amber is that it preserves everything in full 3D with the soft tissue. So they are particularly good fossils, but their fame sort of makes it seem like they're more common than they are. As far as I know, those are the only known dinosaur fossils in amber that aren't just isolated feathers. That this actually contains actual tissue from the organism that wasn't just shed. Because, animals with feathers shed feathers, like all the time, right?
Right.
So that's pretty easy to find, is shed feathers. But finding a whole animal like that, that's, as far as I know,
yeah, I'm not saying that I have any evidence of a T-Rex being preserved in amber.
No, T-Rex probably couldn't be preserved in amber. Well, that's one of the other things is, amber is one of the only ways to preserve fossils that has a bias for small animals. Almost every other fossil formation process favors large animals. So, which makes fossil-bearing amber a valuable insight into parts of the ecology of the ancient world that we otherwise just wouldn't. So, yeah, it's... those two finds were exceptional. It's also possible that there were previous finds of Mesozoic dinosaurs in amber, but that they were simply dismissed as birds and sold on the market, because you can buy fossil-bearing amber online. You can just go, or there are also in places like Indonesia and Myanmar and stuff, places where you can find a lot of fossilized amber. You can just go to the market and find polished amber set into jewelry with insects and lizards and things like that. So, in fact, I think I saw some of that in some of the markets in Thailand. Remember anything like that, Ben?
I don't remember seeing that, no.
Well, is that just because you were drunk the whole time?
That could be. I don't remember leaving the hotel much, because why would you when there's a swim-up bar and when the karaoke band lets you play their instruments?
Fair enough. Actually, a pretty good reason, yeah. I spent a lot of time not in a hotel in Thailand. And yeah, Illuminati Don says we live in the golden age of paleontology. That's probably true. I would tend to agree. So I think we're going to do a little bit more of some Kent with Bent style stuff. And Dark Knight Apologetics, no, amber does not preserve DNA. DNA simply stays away. It's not an indefinitely stable molecule. So, Maya, what do you think? You want to listen?
should do like what do you call it? One of those like a CinemaSin kind of deal with Jurassic Park.
That might be a good thing for the Seabad show. Maybe we should add Jurassic Park to the list of movies for the Seabad.
Is it not on the list?
I'm not sure. I would have to double check.
Let me look here. I don't see it on the list.
I'll put it in there.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, the first Jurassic Park and the first Jurassic World are by a pretty good margin, the best of the Jurassic Park movies. And for different reasons. But the sequels to both have been very disappointing. Like, yeah, just... I don't even really want to talk about it in terms of like filmmaking and plot.
No movie is without sin.
It's true.
Flightless Bird has a question.
Oh, okay. Are turkeys the largest neonate birds? I believe they are currently. There have been much larger neonate birds in the past, like the terror birds of South America were much larger. Diatrema was a neonate bird. They were both much larger than turkeys. But yeah, now all the largest birds are neonate. Turkeys may well be the at least in terms of mass. Obviously, like the albatross has a much bigger wingspan. You know, storks are much taller. But just in terms of like, okay, this is a pretty much 20-pound bird. I don't know of any other neonate birds that get that big. But I also haven't checked. So take my answer with a bit of salt because I can't guarantee that. I am just not aware of any other larger neonates. Cassowaries are paleonates. What do you guys say? You want to bash Kent open a little bit?
Do I?
Okay.
All right.
It's my only reason for existing.
All right. Let's see if I can get screen share to work with this, because otherwise we probably can't. Which actually might also mean that our chat window goes away on OBS. So if that happens, I apologize, but everyone will still be able to hear you, if not see Maya's lovely face.
Oh, they know what I look like.
All right, so
Flightless Bird, real quick, has a major question.
Major question.
Why do you think that scientists are not allowed to hatch their genetically modified chicks? Why not do it? The chicks could live a healthy life.
It's an ethical concern. I don't particularly share this ethical concern, but that's the reason. There are ethical rules against it. So, now I'm going to see if everyone can hear this. Can you guys hear this? You probably can't, because I don't know if Google Hangouts will do that.
To interpret the past, just...
Oh my goodness, that was terrible. Why is it doing this? All right.
No, I can't hear it.
Well, there's that too. All right, so that might be a little bit of a problem. We could try back on Skype. Maya, do you have me on Skype?
I have Skype.
But have you added me on Skype?
No. I can
All right.
say that with a high degree of certainty.
Well, why not?
I'm a bitch.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So I'll tell you what. Do you guys want to do some Skype? I mean, the other thing is we can just take off. We've gone for an hour or so. Bent could go stream some Mass Effect or something.
Let's have the chat decide.
There you go. All right. So if you want us to take a little bit of time to restart this video, move over to Skype. Type 1 in the chat. If you want us to stop, and then I can't speak for Bent, but I would like him to play Mass Effect on Ben.
Yeah. Make that an option, yeah. That
Okay.
could be number...
So number 2 is let's go watch Ben play Mass Effect. And then number 3 is for you guys, I'm going home. So here we go. Let's see what the chat has to say. All right, we got a 1 from Flightless Bird. Also, whoever has the highest super chat, you win. So, if you want to pay me to do what you want, you can. So there's that. But we got another one. Let's see. I'll just go for a few minutes. So Ben, by the way, how was your game of FTL going that I happen to know you're playing?
It's going poorly.
But you're playing on easy.
I know. It's a very hard game, even on easy.
Oh, that's true. I know that.
I could only get more drone parts.
Well, we got a 69, but I don't think that's an option right
It's always an option.
now. Oh, is it though?
I might be thinking of something else.
Ben, you got a two. Someone out there, Dark Knight Apologetics, wants you to definitely wants you to play some Mass Effect. But it is looking like, even without
It's like a 5-1 vote right now.
Yeah, I know, it's one.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna open up Skype here. Well, maybe I'll do it here. First, I'm gonna turn off. All right, so let's open up Skype. Maya, do you have any weird Skype name or something? What, can you send me a message as to what I should be looking for your
Yeah, I
name
was
on Skype?
looking. I don't know. I'm in Skype now, and I was trying to figure out how to find you.
Well, I mean, my name on Skype is Dapper Dinosaur.
Okay.
I see someone with your name.
Probably me. Oh wait,
Let's see.
I think I see you.
I'm going to send you a wave. Did you receive a wave from Dapper Dinosaur? Otherwise, that's the wrong Maya. Oh wait, I see like 3 people with your name.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah, apparently your name is not so uncommon.
I am the original. Damn it.
Well, you say that, but
You're the clone.
Maya, did you just say hi?
I just said hi.
That is you. So you are actually the first one I tried, even though there's like 6
The
of you.
original.
All right.
You never listen to me.
Hi. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a call for. Oh, hey, look! It even popped up, and that looks like your face. It also looks like your shoulders. So yeah, I can tell people apart by their shoulders. Weird thing I do. I don't know why.
That is a weird thing you do.
I just totally made that up. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna call. Let's see. Call Ben. So calling Ben. Hey, there's Ben, and now I'm gonna try and add Maya. Oh. Answer the call, Maya. Answer the call. She's gonna drop the call, I can tell. Oh, I was wrong. I was like, oh, you're gonna drop the call, I can tell, but then you didn't.
No,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
because I am technologically impaired, so that would make sense. But
All right, so let's see.
are you getting any echo from me?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
All right, so I can get rid of this, that. All right, let's get this here in the middle. Okay, so we should now actually be set up for some Kent with Bent. I'm gonna turn if I can actually get the whole up. Get to the right time. We left off at 26:20 last time, Bent.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do some screen sharing if I remember how to do that. Screen share, display 2, sound. Let me know how it sounds. Quiet.
I can hear it.
Yeah, it's quiet.
It is quiet, but I can hear it at least.
Oh, I remember what the problem is. I opened it with the wrong program. Because for some reason we have to use Windows Media Player because that can actually make it loud enough. I don't know why it is that other media players just don't do it for me. But
The Bible says that God made the world
there you go.
about 6,000
right?
years ago.
Yeah.
Not millions of years ago.
Very well.
4,400 years ago.
All right.
No, it's not the dirt. Read down to verse 20, and the Bible says,
There we
let the
go.
waters bring forth.
We are back. This is a bonus Kent with Bent episode, so y'all better appreciate this, because this was not like, wasn't like, oh, Kent with Bent, what is it, 10 now? Are we on 10?
This would be number 10, and we don't have a name for this
But
one.
it's not. This is going to be the supernumerary Kent with Bent.
Kent with Bent is Thanksgiving special.
Kent with Bent,
Thanks-
yeah, the Thanksgiving special. I don't know why this one went. There we go. Alright, yeah, this is the Kent with Bent Thanksgiving special. Kent with Bent, no number, gobble gobble. Whatever. Alright. How do I use a computer with such small arms? So, Ben, what's the name of that streamer with no hands?
There's a streamer with no hands.
Yeah, you and Duke watch him sometimes. He plays shooters.
You might be thinking of Duke and someone else, because
Oh, well,
I don't know who you're talking about.
Anyway, so there's a guy who streams first-person shooter games on Twitch, and he doesn't have hands, and no hands is in his name because he doesn't have hands. He has a special control input that uses a straw and another thing that he can manipulate with his lips or something. I have a similar setup. It's pretty cool.
And I know your butler helps too.
Yes, my butler also helps. Alright, so here, let's listen to some stupid stuff that Kent's gonna say.
Abundantly, the moving creature that hath life, and fowl, that's birds, that may fly above the earth.
Actually, as we just saw, fowl doesn't describe all of the birds, only some of them, the gallo and sere. So Kent can't even get the Bible right. But whatever.
In the open firmament of heaven.
Oh, this is that thing where we checked on the Hebrew and the Greek, and his translation is incorrect. Remember that? We already did this bit. I checked the original language, and I was like, I wonder what prepositions are being used. And neither of them were in.
What edition is he using?
He always uses the King James Version. So
Of course he does.
At this point, he was a King James preference guy. He preferred the King James. But in prison, he turned into a King James only guy because he got taken in by a woman named Gail Riplinger. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she has some of the craziest arguments for the King James Version being the one and only Bible. And she has this book called New Age Bible Perversions or some craziness like that. And she goes through and basically just makes shit up to try and denigrate other more accurate and also some bad translations of the Bible. I'm not going to say that all the new translations are good. Some of them aren't. But yeah, he decided to be a disciple of Gail Riplinger, who is just the worst when it comes to argumentation for actual accuracy. Yeah, basically. She just has no ground to stand on in terms of textual criticism or anything. It's just really bad. I don't know why people listen to it, but I mean I do, it's for the same reason they listen. She confirms their bias. Because the thing is, from a literary standpoint, the King James is great. It's a good translation in terms of the quality of the prose. Just that it's not terribly accurate.
The birds fly in the firmament. The birds do not fly in the dirt.
I'll
The
agree with
birds
you there,
fly in
Kent.
the air. So the first heaven in the Bible
makes
is where the
sense.
birds fly. The atmosphere, we're breathing it now. First heaven. The second heaven is where the sun, moon, and stars are, the lights. Genesis 1, 14 and 16. The third heaven.
What do you got?
No, I mean, it's just funny that he thinks this is a thing. And again, none of this is actually in the Bible, right? The Bible talks about the first heaven and the third heaven, I think. So for and the concept of seven heavens predate the Hebrew Bible.
Oh, it definitely does, yeah. It also occurs in
And
Islamic
aren't
sources.
mentioned at all in the Bible, at least not any of the books that Christians use. Now, the Jews get into like extra books and they kind of speak to some of the other ones, but it's not really a Semitic concept.
Right.
So I have no idea what he's about to say because, you know, in my spare time, I like to stay away from Kent Hovind.
I don't know why.
I unfortunately...
I know.
So I actually don't consider my Kent Hovind watching spare time anymore because...
Well, yeah, you have a channel.
Right. I do this for, like, research purposes. Like, sometimes people say, oh, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm researching. So what does that entail? It's like, well, right now, it means I'm watching a freaking Kent Hovind video, and I hate it, but I'm still going to do it. So...
Yeah, but I mean, it's just insane. It's just like, I have no idea what he's about to say, but it's not biblical. So I'm like, why is he talking about it?
Well, one idea behind the whole idea of the seven heavens is, so in the ancient world, there were considered to be 7 planets, included the moon and the sun. So it was the moon, the sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, right? That's 7.
Mm-hmm.
And so each one was conceived of as existing in a separate layer beyond the Earth. So the moon was the closest, then it was usually thought to be the sun, then Mercury, then Venus, Mars, then Jupiter, then Saturn, right? And so the idea was because each one orbited in its own layer around the Earth, each one of those constituted a heaven, and then there was the stars that were in the last heaven, which either was with Saturn or didn't really count as a separate heaven, it was just a shell around the heavens.
So in Job, when Lucifer met, the Satan went to the third heaven to talk to God, which planet was he on?
That would have corresponded most likely to or Mercury, depending on. Because the weird thing about Mercury and Venus is that they can only appear at a certain distance from the sun. So, ancient cosmologies weren't always super clear on which one came first, and there were also some cosmologies that thought of Mercury as 2 different planets because Mercury sometimes appears in the morning and sometimes at night, or sunrise, and sometimes right after sunset. And so some ancient cultures considered the morning and the evening star of Mercury to be 2 separate planets.
Yeah, I mean, the comment was a little tongue-in-cheek, but I do understand what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. So here's the thing about me. I'm really bad at rhetorical questions.
You really are.
You ask me pretty much any question, and I will give it a serious answer. Like, to the best of my ability. And I will go into detail that you didn't even know existed.
I did know that existed. And there are a number of concepts that actually talk about that, depending on the ancient religion that you're interested in. But we're going to rely on Kent's stupidity, so let's hear what he has to say about more stuff he doesn't know.
2 Corinthians chapter 12 apparently is where God lives. 3 heavens mentioned in the Bible. The Bible says the heavens, plural, declare the glory of God. Now Genesis 1:1, if it's properly translated, will say, in the beginning God created the heaven.
You know, we also checked that, didn't we? And it turns out that no, it's actually plural, but I'm going to double check.
It's plural. No, it is plural.
Oh, yeah, but I'm going to pull it up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, so let's check it out in Hebrew. So here we go. Okay, so here is... Okay. So here is Genesis 1:1 in Hebrew. All right. Yep. So starting with the first one, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th word, and you read from the right, is heavens. And you can see that the last 2 characters, one is a little tiny character. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Yeah, so There you go. So, there you go. There's this word that I had basically center screen, and it has a little short character that's up at the top of the line, and then it has a little boxy character, right? That's yod meme. That is the plural ending in Hebrew. It has a similar ending in Arabic with in or un, depending on the grammatical context of the word. Yeah, that's the word for heavens in this.
The dapper that doesn't fit Hovind's narrative.
That's true. I guess that's true, yeah. Let's check it in the Septuagint, which is a ancient Greek translation of the Old Testament, right? Genesis 1:1 LXX. Okay. So, zoom in here. Okay, so there it is in Greek. And let's see. You know what? I'm going to have to give it to him that in Greek, it's singular.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thought we were going to catch Hovind being wrong in 3 languages.
Well, so here's the thing, is most English translations of the Old Testament start with the Masoretic text. Get out of here. I care about you. But this right here is in fact the accusative singular for heavens. So, enarche epoi, oh my goodness, that's a hard word. Epoiesen otheos ton uranon kai in. In the beginning, created God the heavens and the earth. In fact, heaven, or it's actually heaven and earth. So yeah, those are in fact singular in Greek. So we'll give him that.
What are the odds that he was reading Greek?
Like 0. I just did more work in Greek than Ken has ever done his entire life. I have an extremely high level of confidence that that is the most, that I just did more Greek than Kent Hovind ever has. My guess is that Kent Hovind couldn't actually take those letters and turn them into. So, yeah.
But yeah, because he has the King James version and everybody spoke English. And
Yeah, that's all you need. Hey, you know what? If it was good enough for St. Peter, it's good enough for me, so let's stick with the King James, right?
there you go.
Yeah, because that makes sense.
Did he actually say that?
No, but I have heard people say that.
Okay.
The heaven and the earth. Then he apparently divided it into 3 sections over the next few days. So he made one expanded place, and then he divided it into 3 slices. First heaven, second heaven, third heaven.
So Chuck McNubbin asked, is there any indication that the Old Testament is actually from the Torah? So the Old Testament is essentially identical with the Jewish Tanakh, not the Torah. The Torah is the first 5 books of Tanakh, or the Testament. And I don't remember offhand Kent Hovind ever stating that specifically, but I feel like it would be hard for him to not realize that. And Kent Hovind recognizes the Jewish people as essentially, he tends to think of them as essentially the people who are mentioned in the New Testament as the Jews, but who have not converted to Christianity during the many years. So I have trouble imagining that he doesn't recognize the connection between the Jewish scriptures and the Christian.
But Genesis 1:1 should say heaven singular, and then it's heavens from then on in Scripture.
Why, Kent?
Because Kent said so. That's why. What else do you need?
I mean, that's so. Here's the other thing, right? So sometimes people will criticize the Masoretic text because it was created. So the Masoretic text is the first classical Hebrew text that has all of the vowels and other diacritical marks actually put in there. It was invented basically by the Masoretes, which were a group of Jewish scribes, for that compilation. And the reason that these scribes made this compilation was specifically to counter Christian rhetorical points, right? So there's some valid criticism leveled at the Masoretic text, say that, well, it may well be sort of an anti-Christian thing, where keeping anti-Christian theological points intact was a bigger concern than textual accuracy. And there's some places where that might actually be the case, because if you look at the Dead Sea Scrolls and where they contain the same works as the Masoretic text, the Dead Sea Scrolls actually tend to agree with the Septuagint, which is an ancient Greek translation, more often than they do with the Masoretic text, where the two vary. And the Septuagint was translated before the Masoretic text was compiled by several centuries. But most of the variations between the Masoretic text and the Septuagint can't be explained by the differences in these diacritical marks that the Masoretes made. So most of the variation between the Masoretic text and the Septuagint is actually, or sorry, a lot of it, like the consonantal text is the same between the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Masoretic text, and the difference between heaven and heavens is consonantal. You can't just let it be. You can't just say, "Oh, well, it's just a difference in the pointing of Hebrew," because there's a whole two consonants, which would be very likely to be copied down. So I don't actually know if it's reasonable to say that the translators of the King James Version actually decided to go with a variant reading on the Hebrew. I think it's just a mistake, because variant readings in the Hebrew tend to come from differences in the potential pointing of the text, as opposed to the consonantal structure of the text, which tends to be pretty invariant over time. So there you go. There's some Hebrew textual criticism for you. If you don't know, I spent some time studying ancient Hebrew.
What?
Yeah, crazy, right?
Well, if Kent's not going to do it,
I might as well.
at least you did it.
Thanks. I mean, I'm far from an expert. Give me a bunch of Hebrew text, and I'm going to have to look up, like, almost all the words.
Yeah.
But still, I can do a whole lot more than Kent can do.
Well, you know, you try, and Kent just says what he wants to say.
True.
It's a big difference.
The third heaven. The Bible says, the heavens declare the glory of God, the firmament showeth his handiwork. Genesis 1:7. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. Now, what's this talking about? Water above the atmosphere? Why did Psalm 148 say, praise him, ye waters that be above the heavens? It could be there is still water above outer space.
Okay, so I want to...
Does he understand that he's, like, arguing for a flat Earth? Does he understand that?
No.
Well, he's
no,
pointing up, so...
He does not understand that, because it is true that this entire cosmology is based on the assumption of a flat Earth. Now, people are like, oh, is the Bible teaching a flat Earth?
Yes, yes it is.
Well, okay, here's what I'm going to say. I don't think that the Bible makes the flat Earth a point of its, like, teaching. Like, it's not here to tell you about, oh, the shape of the Earth is X. However, many passages in the Bible assume a flat Earth cosmology. But, I mean, it's kind of like in Genesis when it says that, I think it was Jacob got a bunch of spotted calves by having, or it's not spotted, striped calves, by having his flocks drink in front of stripy sticks. Like, the Bible is not trying to thereby teach you the proper method to breed coat patterns into cows. It's just relating a story, and it has this underlying assumption of sort of a sympathetic magic version of how heritability works now. But that's not the point of the text. The point of the text
no,
is
I understand
to tell you about,
it's not. I mean, and the Bible actually says, you know, specifically, like, it's not a science book.
Right.
It takes a lot of concepts of the day, a lot of things that we're like, what is this? It's really vague. I mean, they just knew it wasn't needed. You know, like we were talking during the last live stream about the concept of Leviathan.
Right.
Everyone knew what it was talking about. It didn't need to be extrapolated upon. But when you're arguing for these concepts, you have to understand that you are arguing for ancient primordial sea gods and, you know, a flat earth and 7 heavens, 7 actual layers. Like, I mean,
that is the background assumption that was in place at that place in time. And I do think there's something to be said for saying that promulgating that as a belief is not the point of any of the text. But
no, it's not.
It is certainly true that many of the biblical authors had these ideas for cosmology as their background assumption.
Right, and I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, or that it's necessarily trying to teach it. I am saying that what he's doing is teaching it, and under the guise that that's not what it's saying.
Yeah. Well, another thing is, later on in Genesis, it will say that during the floodgates of heaven opened up. Well, these are the floodgates that are separating this water from the earth. So does Kent Hovind imagine that gates exist out in outer space that, when opened, will let water flood onto the earth, bypassing all of the other various gravity wells throughout all of space that are stronger than Earth and that are closer to that observable edge of the universe than Earth is? Wouldn't this result in a galactic flood? Not even a galactic flood, a truly universal flood. All of space would have to be flooded with water for this to affect Earth, essentially. Because
yes, Dapper, because that's what the Bible says.
But that's the thing. It's like, if you take his argument seriously here, it doesn't say that there's a global flood. It means that the flooded literally all of space with water. And now you have a really big problem with where did all that water go? Because his ideas about what caused the flood are things like, oh, a big water comet hit the Earth, and there was a subterranean ocean that broke up and flooded up from the fountains of the Great Deep. But the thing is, yeah, he'll talk about those things.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that those things don't act well. The fountains of the Great Deep, I'll give him that. That works. But the floodgates of heaven part relies on this local cosmology with layers of heavens not that far above the Earth, far enough that you couldn't just like throw a rock and hit it or anything, but essentially much more local than even the scale of the solar system that we now know about. That's why the idea was that, oh, you could open these gates and the water would fall in, because the water wasn't, several billion light years away. It was, a couple hundred miles.
No, walk me through this. A comet hit the Earth and triggered, broke into the fountains of the deep, and we get a bunch of water. Is that what you're saying? Oh my God. No, Ben, have you heard this?
It's so confusing. I just sit back and enjoy the ride.
No, I mean, I really need some help here, because, okay, fine. There's an ancient underground ocean. Okay, sure, I'll go with you there.
Well, the waters of the deep.
Comet hit the Earth, and it opened up everything. Okay, cool. Where did it go, and how?
Kent says that the water, I think this is what Kent says, and I've read this elsewhere online too. I don't know if it's real or not, that allegedly half of the water on Earth is actually trapped in rock. Rocks contain water in them in small amounts. I don't know. I am not at all a geologist. I'm barely even a Kentologist. So I don't know if that's where he thinks it went, or if it evaporated away. I don't think he's ever given a good answer to this. I don't know if anyone's asked him in a debate this question and gotten an answer from him.
No, I mean, this is a good question, though, because, okay, fine, yeah, I can...
Oh, it's a great question, yeah.
I can think of a number of ways that we can get extra water on Earth. And it could make sense. We could see this happen. But the issue is, how do you get it to leave in 40 days?
Well, and he also implied that he thinks, he didn't quite say it, but he implied that he thinks that like there are areas of the ocean where like underneath that ocean floor is just a whole bunch more water. We talked about that on the last Kent with Bent. Like, does he think that water just goes all the way through the center of the earth? I don't remember the exact context of how that came up, but it was from the first part of this video, seminar number 2.
Which, by the way, I think seminar 2 might be his most boring seminar.
No, seriously, does he ever say where the water goes?
I don't ever think I've ever heard him talk about where the water went to, except that he says that, like, the mountains got higher and the oceans got lower, and so it took less water before the flood to flood the earth than it would take now because of the increased, like, variance between the deepest oceans and the tops of the tallest mountains. He's like, oh, the mountains were much shorter back then and the oceans weren't so deep.
6,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Or wait, 4,000 years ago.
Yeah, 4.5-ish thousand years ago. The oceans were significantly shallower and the mountains were much lower.
And the mountains were so much
lower that
like,
covering the tops of the tall mountains wouldn't have been such a big deal. Yeah.
Like that came out of his mouth. Okay.
Yup. But you feel like you know how stupid Kent Hovind is. You aren't even close to understanding how stupid this man is.
Like my head hurts.
No. It's really, really bad.
I feel like I'm immune to the headaches that Kent Hovind causes people.
Look,
it's just, but people like believe. I mean, it's not even like, okay, fine, I'm a shyster. Stuff just comes out of my mouth. I don't care if it's true. Like, that's fine. But like, people look at the world around them and they're like, oh yeah, that's plausible. Like, I mean, who hears this and is just like, yeah, okay. Like that, like this is just like driving me nuts.
See, the thing is that if it confirms your pre-existing biases, you're more like, it's something that I've had to sort of wrestle with for a lot of my life, is that I actually don't have a lot of confirmation bias.
Mm-hmm.
I have, on many occasions, looked at evidence and said, oh, I guess I was wrong about this fairly important belief I was holding, and then changed it. So, I have had to struggle with the fact that, for most people, confirmation bias is an extremely strong part of their psyche. And people will believe almost anything that confirms their currently held, cherished belief. And that's what Kent does. He says things that already reinforce the things that his audience strongly believe. That's how he does it.
Okay.
And if you go in being a Christian who belongs to a sort of literalist, fundamentalist group of Christians, there's a chance that he will change your mind on less firmly held beliefs, like beliefs about science that you aren't too sure about because you just kind of heard it, and change them to his way of thinking because you think it better fits a more important belief to you, which is your religious position. Because to most people, their religious positions are their most important beliefs.
Yeah, I get that. And I think that's the problem that I'm having a problem, like, really engaging with, because I've always been around very level-headed Christians. You know, to ignore science would be stupid. I've heard about these people who think that science comes from the devil, and the devil's just trying to trick you. But
Kent doesn't go that far.
Wait, didn't he? Wait, who's the guy that said, well, how do we find all these fossils? Like, well, God put them there to.
I'm not sure who that is because
to test us.
Yeah, like God created an Earth with fossils or something like that.
I don't know of any
or with trees, like the trees were created, and they were just already,
the starlight was already only a few thousand years away from reaching us.
So
or I guess it was already.
Like, if you're going to draw a picture, right? You're not going to draw like dirt, and it's like, oh yeah, well everything's going to grow and it's going to be a beautiful garden. Like you're going to put, aged plants there. and that's kind of how God created the world. Like,
Right.
when
So that argument
yeah,
is called the omphalistic or the omphalos argument, and that's from the Latin word for belly button, because the idea is like, well, maybe Adam had a belly button, just God made the world with the appearance of having existed before it was
yes,
actually created. And that's actually not very common in modern creation circles because it is so philosophically problematic. Because it means that, so if God created everything as if it had evolved naturally and developed naturally from a Big Bang essentially, but then put in his book, well, no, don't believe that. The problem there is that means that God is essentially lying about the history of the universe in the Bible, which then means, well, then why isn't he just lying about the things in the Bible? At that point, you can't actually trust anything, including the Bible, because you already have a God who is essentially a trickster who is willing to rearrange reality, make everything look other than how it is. So why doesn't that include the Bible? And it also
but it
comes
does
from,
include the Bible. There are actually stories that say that in the Bible. Not that thing,
oh,
but
hey,
like,
Eric, we're talking.
so
There are stories about God deceiving people in the Bible,
yeah,
but generally it is a limited number of people to whom he sends some kind of deception, and it's not
mhm.
God rearranging literally all of reality to make everything look to anyone who bothers to check as if things that aren't true are. Basically, like when God deceives people in the Bible, it's like, oh, he hid this one guy from his enemy so he can escape.
Okay.
So that doesn't make God a systematic liar about everything, which is what the omphalist argument would do. So I
Okay.
still think there's some tricky philosophical implications of God deceiving people at all, but the instances that are actually in the Bible explicitly are not nearly as troublesome from a philosophical standpoint as the idea of omphalism. And so even Kant does not generally go with omphalist argument. He'll say that the interpretation of the evidence indicating an old Earth that science uses are simply misinterpretations of the data.
And that certain animals during the flood, certain animals just happened to all die at once in the same layer of sediment, or is
Yeah, he
that
has different arguments about how the fossils got into the order that they're in, but that's a whole can of worms that I think we should open up when we get to it, because that's coming in the
okay?
seminar
Sorry,
series. Yeah.
gotcha. I'm sorry. I'm
Nobody
still trying to
knows
get
where
my mind
space.
around all this because it's stupid.
Well, you know what? If you want on the next Kent with Ben, come on.
No, I like quietly screaming in a corner with a mic.
Ends
I'm
with
doing
ends.
I'm
But the Bible
really
says the Lord sits on many
surprised at my
waters.
point right now.
One theory is that Psalm 148 is talking about a layer of water above outer space. I don't know, but that's...
I like how he says that's a theory. Like, you have literally no evidence for that, Kent. It's not even a hypothesis. It's just a thing you said.
Nobody's been out there yet. Gonna go there one of these days. 2 Peter 3 tells us the
Nobody's
Lord
been to space
the Lord
yet?
made the earth.
Well, no one's been beyond space, because I don't even know if that's a phrase with meaning.
Okay.
Because Kent imagines this shell of water beyond the observable universe. Somehow.
Out of the water
Okay.
and in the water.
Okay.
When God first made the earth, the Bible tells us it sits on the circle of the earth, and Christians have always known the earth is round.
You know what isn't a globe? Or a sphere is a circle. The circle of the earth would require it to be flat, Kent. So if you really want to be a biblical literalist, I don't know why you're not a flat earther, because if you're going to take the Bible as literally as you take the Genesis account in Genesis 1, the creation account in Genesis 1, then you're going to have to start being a flat earther. And then Kent's like, I wonder why all these flat earthers keep talking to me about why I should be a flat earther, because I'm a biblical literalist. Like, I don't know, Kent, maybe for this reason. He that sitteth upon the circle, not the sphere of the earth, not the roundness of the earth, the circle. And I guarantee you, Kent, that ancient Hebrew had a way to differentiate between a sphere and a circle.
You know, I would love to know like the percentage of flat earthers that are also YEC, because I mean it is a form of biblical literalism.
So not all flat earthers are like Bible believers. Some of them reject the Bible and Abrahamic religions in general,
Hmm.
and go with a more sort of like theistic idea of origin of the world. It's not always.
Why would you have a flat Earth out? Like, if you don't believe in the Bible, I don't understand that.
Well, because there could be another God that is not much like the one described in the Bible that created a flat Earth.
But the Bible is the only thing that describe. Well, let's say the only thing.
Well, no, a lot
that
of
they would
ancient
have
texts.
that they would have like readily accessible to.
Well, the thing
you know.
is that if you look at the ancient myths of most culture, they assume a flat Earth,
Yeah.
sort of oldest stratum. So, like, if you
Right,
look at the
but
ancient
like,
Norse,
how many flat earthers are roaming around with the Enuma Elish?
Well, some of them are looking at things like Norse mythology or ancient mythology. So you don't have to go to the Enuma Elish, or like you go to the Prose Edda or the Verse Eddas, and you get a flat Earth. And
Okay.
yeah, so there's that, and then a lot of them are just plain old conspiracy theorists. Well, they'll believe conspiracy theory that. So there's that too.
I'm not gonna name names.
As far as conspiracy theories go,
Here, yeah, there's a number of people on YouTube that will literally believe anything you throw at them.
I mean, I think the biggest example might be Flat Earth Ozzy Jesus. I don't think there's a single conspiracy theory I've ever heard of that he doesn't accept.
No, yeah, he's named him off. It amazed me.
Yeah,
I mean, just the level of stupid. He makes Kent Hovind look smart.
He
does.
So I actually had a short email conversation.
Really?
Yeah, I did. We emailed a few times. I was curious to know what his idea was about fossils, because, it's a particular interest of mine. And he said that fossils were the records of, like, assuming they're authentic, because he wasn't willing to go that far. He was in the whole, like, fossils might be fake.
God.
But assuming that they're real, they represent bioengineered weapons created by the ancients. Yeah.
Oh, that's a new one for me.
He had
That's insane.
His final debate on FTFE's channel was with. It was sort of moderated by Steve McRae, and I was on Twitter with Steve during the debate, and I told Steve to ask Flat Earth Ozzy Jesus about that topic in particular, and that was the question that Steve asked Flat Earth Ozzy Jesus. Made Steve back out of that discussion because he was like, I think at this point we're literally making fun of a mentally ill person, so it's time for me to.
That's when Steve left. I remember that.
Yeah, that was
I didn't know.
that
Okay.
was because I was on Twitter with Steve in real time, telling him about my conversation with Flat Earth Ozzy Jesus and telling him he should ask about it.
Wow. No, I remember. I've heard Steve a couple occasions insinuate that, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know why I didn't know it was you.
So I'm not a psychologist, and even if I were,
No, yeah.
I haven't met Flat Earth Ozzy Jesus in person, so even if I were, I still couldn't diagnose him with anything. But I get where Steve's coming from on that.
Yeah. He totally came to that conclusion on his own. It's just wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that's I think where the flat earthers sit, is that a lot of them are just they'll accept any conspiracy, no matter how crazy. And here's the other thing, right? That is a conspiracy theory doesn't make it wrong. There have been conspiracies. Like at one point, it would have been a conspiracy to say that, oh, hey, you know that story about the Spanish attacking a U.S. warship off the coast of, I think it was Cuba or something? That's crazy. It was actually just an accident. The U.S. government is blaming on the Spanish in an effort to start a war in order to gain new territory in what's currently Spanish imperial territory. That was a conspiracy theory at one point. Turns out that was 100% true. That's exactly what happened. A U.S. warship near a Spanish port in the New World blew up, and the United States, despite pretty soon after knowing it was actually just an accident, caused by someone, I think, smoking in the gunpowder room, and they just declared war on Spain anyway. And then gained a whole bunch of territory, including in the Philippines and Puerto Rico and Cuba.
My God.
Yeah, so conspiracies happen, right? It's a real thing. But that doesn't mean that your pet conspiracy theory is true. Because it's probably not, because most of them have never had any evidence. But, yeah, here we go.
Said he stretched out the heavens. Stretched out the heavens. That phrase appears 5 or 6 times in the book of Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Lamentations, those books, about the stretching of the heavens. Today's atmosphere has 6 layers to it.
I feel like we've already seen this.
Yeah, we have.
I don't have a clue. I think there used to be a lot of water above the atmosphere. And scientists have a new theory that's teaching the kids about cavemen. The Bible says we're made in God's image.
Now new stuff.
Yet the textbook says, this is Grandpa.
No textbook says that a modern chimpanzee is your ancestor. It wouldn't even make sense. That's like saying, oh, hey, you know your third cousin twice removed? He's your grandfather. It's like, well, unless you're in Alabama, no, probably not. And even if you are in Alabama, still probably not.
Still probably not.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the inbreeding in Alabama is greatly exaggerated. Although, here's one thing. Try looking up sometime a map of U.S. states where first cousin marriages are legal. It includes New York. It is not just a crazy Alabama thing. Yeah. And here's the other thing. If I'm being honest, if your family doesn't have a history of inbreeding, and you marry your first cousin and have kids, there's virtually no increased chance of problems as far as inbreeding goes. It's something that occurs over several. Okay, it's something that occurs over several generations. Like if your grandparents were first cousins and your great grandparents were first cousins, you marry your first cousin. Well, okay, now we're getting into some problem territory. But if your family doesn't have a history of this and you marry and have kids with your cousin, there are chances that anything is going to happen with you. But I'm still a big fan of the general taboo against first cousin marriages because it prevents families from having a history. Like, I'm going to say something controversial now.
Uh-oh.
So, there are some places in the world where first cousin marriages are considered to be the norm and preference. And those places in the world tend to have people that, even when they're in context with great education and no legal discrimination, they tend to underperform and they have a higher rate of genetic problems in their kids. Don't keep marrying your cousins.
I'll stop marrying my cousins in those countries.
No, just stop marrying all of them, Ben. I know you've already married, like, what, 4 of your cousins or something? Is that
I lost count.
Okay, did you lose count at 0?
I think so.
Okay.
What about all these cavemen the kids learn about anyway?
A caveman.
Well, we'll cover that in the next session.
I'm sure we will.
There's never been a caveman. We'll cover them in the next session.
There's never been a caveman. The Bible has cavemen in it. David hid in a cave from his son, Absalom. Or did he also? I think he hid from Absalom and also Solomon. Or not Solomon. Who was the king before David? I can't think.
Saul?
Saul, yeah. Pretty sure he hid in a cave from both of them.
I think so. He hid in caves quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I don't.
And
that
then
doesn't
he ate
really
the
mean
sacred,
he was
also,
a caveman.
He also had his troops eat sacred bread.
Yeah, they were hungry.
Yeah. Turns out, you can go eat the sacred bread if you're hungry. It says
You're
it's
hungry
okay
enough.
in the Bible. So,
Yeah.
Wait, I'm back. Wait, sacred bread? Are we talking about manna?
No, we're talking about King David, and in the Bible. So Ken had just said there are no cavemen, and I was pointing out that King David hid in caves, like at least once, and I think twice. So there were definitely men in caves, according to the Bible. So I'm not entirely sure where Ken's going to go with this, but I feel.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what he means by cavemen, like the way cavemen are described.
It's a man in a cave. I've been in a cave. Although
Right,
I'm a dinosaur,
but
I'm a cave
like,
dinosaur.
did you live your entire life in a cave and sleep in the cave?
It's hard to live 150 plus million years and spend all of that in a cave. Like, come on.
Oh,
I mean,
really
I
quick.
suppose.
What do you want from me?
Really quick, I just want to give a shout out to the Deviants, Mikey Famine. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe.
Absolutely. Mikey does very frequent gaming streams, and they're a lot of fun. And every once in a while, I'm on it, and so is Maya. So, yeah, check it out. I don't go on as often as I would like, usually because I'm often doing something and I can't take all of my time away from that. But I do go on sometimes. So if you like me and you like games, subscribe to the Deviants. So yeah.
I don't even know if I'm
Actually,
subscribed yet.
Mikey, you want on? You want to yell at Kent Hovind? If so, let me know, and I will I'll try to get you a link. Something. Actually, I guess we might have to become contacts or something. I'm not sure how that works. I don't know. If you really want on, we can probably figure it out.
The Garden of Eden was real different. Coming soon is the 1,000-year reign of Christ. Going to be real different than what we see today. Talk about that next time. Thank you.
Wait, what?
Welcome to the continuation of our seminar part 2
Oh,
on the
okay.
Garden of Eden.
I was so
In this section, we're going to talk a
confused.
little bit about the so-called cavemen, and then tell you what it was like in the Garden of Eden.
I'm sorry. I thought that was the end of the whole thing, and I was like, "But the videos we have done. What's going on?"
Yeah, I thought that was weird. I was like, but he hasn't even led the prayer.
Yeah, they probably just cut that out because they're splicing two together into one seminar for this. Because I cut out a whole bunch of prayer and preaching at the end of this video. Like, this is not the original. I edited this. Get rid of a bunch of crap.
Thank you.
And why
How long is it?
900?
Still 2 hours?
This video was about an hour and a half, but the original was about 2 hours and like 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah, Maya.
Oh, I think it's longer because you're at 54 minutes and just about halfway through it.
I don't know. Maya, if you can add Mikey to the call, that would be great.
Yep, I'm trying to see if he has a Skype ID.
Yeah, if he does, see if we can add him.
And what it's going to be like when God restores the earth like it used to be. For 1,000 years, we'll get to see it. This is not my wife, just a picture of her.
Oh,
we have
no.
3 kids, all married, and the dog. Okay. To edit that
Okay,
out.
we have to skip over
300
those
would have
parts.
big eyebrow ridges. The originals. They've known that all along. Its valley was named after a guy's span of history. Wonder how many kids went to school and some teacher said, "Boys and girls, we got proof for evolution." Piltdown man.
Piltdown man. Okay, this came up in my next, not my last video, but the one before that. I don't know if every one of you have seen it. It's one of my Genesis Apologetics Should Apologize videos. Let me see which one it is. The one before the most recent. Yeah, number 5. Piltdown man hasn't been part of modern science in nearly a century. And even when it was found, there was suspicion about it. And then in the 25 or so years between it being found and it being proven a hoax, the amount of suspicions only went up. And it was really only popular in like the Anglosphere. And the only reason it was popular there was because basically Englishmen were like, "Oh yes, England is of course the original home of humanity." Like, well, I mean, no, it's not. You just said that because you thought it was convenient. So Kent is trying to present a hoax that didn't even really last the full 20 plus years, but sorry, it's so irrelevant.
Teachers, now you listen carefully. If you're teaching something that supports the evolution theory, you're going to stand before God one of these days and be judged for every idle word that you speak.
You know what? I'm going to assume that you're right, Kent, and I feel pretty confident that if I stand before God and God's like, "Hey, why did you teach things that were manifestly true?" I'm just going to say, because they were manifestly true. And if God is just or good, he's going to be like, "Oh yeah, okay." And if he's not, then why bother worshiping him anyway?
And if you destroy a child's faith, you better read Matthew chapter 18, verse 6. You'd be better off with a millstone hanged about your neck and drowned in the depth of the sea.
The reason that teaching and accepting evolution destroys people's faith, Kent, is because of people like you who pretend that the two things are tied together. So again, even if you're right, you're going to be the one in trouble there.
And those folks that taught that for 40 years are in serious trouble when they stand before God. It was a hoax. Neanderthal man is still in the textbooks, but it was proven 50 years.
It's because Neanderthals existed. What do you want? A real species to just get taken out of the whole thing? I don't get what he wants here.
He's always going to pronounce that H in there.
Well, look. Okay, here's where I'm going to get into my bit about pronouncing the names of fossil, or just pronouncing scientific names in general, right? Don't skip any vowels. Every vowel is in there because you're supposed to say it. Rule 1. Rule 2 is, if possible, determine the etymology of the word so you know how to pronounce consonants, and don't skip them. But rule 3 is, if you're not sure about the etymology, then just freaking go with whatever seems right. Just don't skip any of the letters. And rule 4 is like, there aren't any Romans or ancient Greeks around who are going to slap you for pronouncing their language. So just don't skip over any letters and do something that sounds reasonable. Is it Deinonychus or Deinonychus? It's Deinonychus, but if you say Deinonychus, I'm not going to complain about it. Is it Neanderthal or Neanderthal? It's Neanderthal, but, like, whatever.
But, like, what do other... Okay, so Kent claims to be a doctor of dinosaurs or whatever that's supposed to mean, like a self-proclaimed paleontologist. Like, shouldn't he know better and pronounce it the way... Do all other paleontologists say Neanderthal, or are there some that just don't know any better? Because I feel like Kent would know better.
People who are experts in human origins and the evolution of hominins overwhelmingly say Neanderthal. But you know what? If you form the habit of saying Neanderthal and you can't break it, okay, just say it.
Yeah, but I don't trust Kent that that's what happened.
Well, okay, that's fair. He probably just doesn't know. But yeah.
Years ago, it's just an old man with arthritis.
No,
Neanderthal man was named after Neander Valley.
Okay, the whole arthritis thing is the first fossil of Neanderthal, Homo neanderthalensis, was in fact an elderly Neanderthal who was suffering from advanced arthritis because he was an old man at the time. Of course, old man meant like 45, so life was rough. But the subsequent finds of non-pathological Neanderthals have been found. It wasn't an old man with arthritis, but it was an old Neanderthal with arthritis. They weren't all like that.
Where it was found in Germany, and Neander Valley was named after a guy named Joachim Neander, who wrote the song in your songbook, Praise to the Lord, the Almighty, the King of Creation.
I actually like that song. It's a very nice, like, there's some good quality to the music in it.
I don't know that one.
You don't know that one? I'm actually going to see if I can find a little clip of it.
No, I went to a charismatic church, and our songs were, I don't know, more charismatic, newer.
I'll play a few.
Not very many hymns.
A little bit of this.
Not very many old songs.
I can't hear that at all.
Not enough
right,
heavy
never
metal in our church.
Surprise. Anyway,
I get it why, but still, I wanted more.
Look. I don't care what you think about Christian theology or anything, but there's some good music that has been inspired by Christianity. I happen to think that song, Praise to the Lord the Almighty, sometimes Praise to the Lord the Almighty, the King of Creation, is actually some good music. Go listen to it. Go do it.
Just link it. Can you link it?
The problem is that I can't hear any of the versions that I'm hearing.
I
don't know if they're
about
any good. But just search Praise the Lord the Almighty in YouTube someday and listen to versions of it. It's a good song. In my opinion.
Maybe I'll get the band to cover it.
Yes.
They found this old skeleton, petrified skeleton in this valley, and the back was bent over, and they named it the Neanderthal man. It was quite obviously a human,
Yeah,
but the back was curved. And since apes are four-legged, walks leaning over, and man walks on two legs, later on somebody said, well, we need some evidence for evolution. Let's go use that old man we found.
No, that's not really what was found out. The pathological character of the shape of the skeleton was recognized fairly early on.
So they said, see, his back has been over because he's slowly coming up. No, he has arthritis. He's slowly going down. They've known that all along. It's not a missing link at all.
I like how Kent is technically correct about this. Yes, Neanderthal is not ancestral to Homo sapiens. They're a sister group to Homo sapiens, or they're part of a sister group along with Denisovans to Homo sapiens. And no, the stooped nature of the first fossil wasn't a characteristic of the species. It was actually arthritis. And yeah, there were some scientists who tried to portray this as some kind of transitional fossil, even though it really wasn't. But the implication he's trying to get you to believe is that, therefore, the whole picture that we have as modern, current, science-accepting humans, or I guess you have as science-accepting, science-accepting dinosaur, that whole picture is just false because of this, but it's not. All he's saying is basically the modern consensus on Homo neanderthalensis is more or less correct. Yeah, it is more or less correct. And it doesn't in any way disprove evolution, or even counter it.
About 300 Neanderthal skeletons have now been found, all of them perfectly normal like ours. Their brain is bigger than ours, 13% bigger on average.
What does it mean to be perfectly normal like ours? Because Homo neanderthalensis skeletons aren't H. sapien skeletons. But they're not all crazy freak monsters. They're normal Neanderthals. But they are very distinct from anatomically modern humans in terms of morphology. I'm going to see if I can find... let's see. Neanderthal... I'm gonna see if I can't find like a side-by-side. Oh, here's a good skeletal comparison. Alright, so we're gonna open this in a new... Here we go. Okay, so here is, on the left, a Neanderthal, and on the right, a modern Homo sapien. They look identical to you?
No.
No. Does the Neanderthal look obviously deformed or anything?
Nope.
No. But it's also clearly not the same as the anatomically modern human on the right.
They look pretty similar to me.
They look very similar, but they're obviously not the same. And they look very similar because they're very closely related. But if you saw someone with the skeleton on the left as like a flesh and blood human, you would notice that they weren't the same as you, especially if they weren't wearing concealing clothing or anything. Like, you put a naked Homo sapiens next to a naked Neanderthal, they're not going to look the same. They're distinct. There are considerable differences. And the one on the left doesn't look stooped and arthritic. Like, you look at the skeleton on the left, it doesn't have any obvious pathologies, does it?
Nope.
But it's still obviously distinct. That's because they're not the same thing.
What?
Yeah. It turns out this type of human on the left isn't the same type of human as on the right. Okay. So Kent is basically pretending that all of the differences that you can see between these two skeletons are due to old age and arthritis.
Kent is stupid.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that old age and arthritis is going to explain a differently shaped rib cage. I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor like Bent is. Bent, you're a doctor, right?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Again, I'm as much of a doctor as Kent is.
So you're significantly more of a doctor than Kent is.
Well, I do work in medicine.
Yeah. So,
but I do not have my medical degree.
But has anyone ever heard of arthritis causing a change in the shape of the rib cage?
I have not heard of that.
Obviously not. So yeah, Neanderthals aren't simply aged and decrepit Homo sapien. Like, it's just not a possibility. So let's keep going with the...
Average height of the males was 5'9", and the females 5'3", same as today.
Well, actually, no. Homo neanderthalensis was significantly shorter by about a head or so about 6 or 7 inches.
But yet they say it's a missing link. They gave the same Neanderthal skull to 9 different artists and said, what did it look like? They got 9 different answers. Those pictures you see in your book
What does that even mean?
And basically, it just means that forensic reconstruction for non-Homo sapien skulls is a bit of a hit or miss thing.
Like, how different were their drawings from one another?
I mean, you can see them here, and they're pretty different, although none of them look obviously inhuman.
I don't know if I would say those are 9 different interpretations. A lot of those look very similar to one another.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because they're not the exact same,
right,
down to, like, each little marking. Like, I don't buy that, Kent.
Well, and here's the other thing. Even if it were true, all it would mean is that forensic reconstruction is an iffy technique. Okay, but that doesn't make these skeletons the same. No matter how bad forensic reconstruction is as a technique to determine the life appearance of an extinct hominin, it doesn't make those skeletons identical, Kent. It just doesn't. Not even a little bit.
Imagination on the part of the artist. The person who's commissioning the art can say, well, I want it to look a little more ape-like or a little more human-like. They can make it look however they...
A little more ape-like or a little more human-like is like saying, oh, this is a sculpture of a lizard. I want it to look a little bit more reptile-like or a little bit more lizard-like. Doesn't make any sense, Kent. Humans have every single characteristic of an ape. There is nothing that is a characteristic of an ape that is not also a characteristic of a human. There are just some characteristics of humans that are not characteristic of the rest of the apes.
Oh, hey, Dapper, since we're talking about great apes,
Yes?
you have a guest that you should acknowledge. Stop being rude.
Wait, what? Oh my goodness, Mikey, you're here. Mikey, I can't hear you. Say something. Is Mikey muted? I didn't mute him.
I can't hear it. Hi, Mikey.
I can't see.
Mikey,
Hello, you.
check to see if your microphone is enabled or something. Maybe switch microphones. I don't know. I didn't even know Mikey.
Yeah,
joined.
no, he looks. When I hover over him, it looks muted, so I'm not sure what he's doing. But he is in the room.
Alright, well, hi, Mikey. I hope at some point you figure out the microphone thing, because I was really not trying to be rude. I just can't hear you. Can anyone else?
There we go.
Yep.
Oh, Mikey, is that you?
That's me.
Oh,
Hello.
Mikey is here. The deviants.
What's up?
Oh man, we're just hate watching some Kent Hovind. I'm drinking some vodka.
I've got margarita.
Ooh, a margarita.
I need to get another drink.
So, Mikey, say hello and introduce yourself to the chat.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mikey Pham, and half of the ProLib show, and a general idiot. I'm here to.
So you're on Kent's side.
Yeah, I will be defending Kent. Time. I have a reason for everything he's been doing.
Oh, okay. So what's his reason for saying that that Neanderthals are just geriatric Homo sapiens? What's your reasoning there?
If you haven't noticed, his inability to pronounce the letter H is also indicative of the fact that he is also a Neanderthal.
Okay.
He was there. That was a good friend of his that passed, and that's how he knows that's how they work, because he was there.
I'm sorry to hear that, Kent. Also, I want to point out that Kent has recently had some, speaking of passing and whatnot, Kent has had some recent medical problems, and I wish Kent Hovind a speedy recovery, because while I think that Kent Hovind is a dishonest moron, I also don't wish ill upon him in turn.
But to be fair, you don't wish ill on anybody, so
No,
don't feel special,
There's a
Kent.
few people I wish ill on, but they've done things far worse than Kent Hovind has.
Word.
Basically, if you've ever been a president of the United States, I wish ill on you. I'm gonna say that. Every single one of them that's still
Take
alive.
that, George Washington.
Yeah.
In your face.
Get wrecked. Well, you know,
Grover.
he had 2 sets of dentures, right? One was made out of a combination of wood, elephant ivory, and the teeth of like animals like pigs. But the other set was just made of slave teeth.
Well, isn't that just special?
Yeah. So, you
I
know,
did not know that.
Yeah. Fun stuff. So, yeah.
They didn't teach me that in my history class.
They didn't. I mean, it makes sense that you would use that for dentures because they're actual human teeth. But yeah, creepy, gross, and just not okay.
No, that's not.
And like the
right.
and the yellowing on each tooth would be different.
Oh,
so
yeah.
their mouth would just be a rainbow of different like
Mikey, how is your initial objection that it wouldn't look good?
just
He
that's
put
where my brain
slave teeth in his mouth and chewed with them. And your thing is like, oh yeah, but they'd all be different kinds of yellow. Come
goes.
on.
Like I was like picturing it with my weird Nintendo 64 brain. And I was just like, oh my god, all those teeth would be different colors. That would look so weird. I mean,
You're not wrong.
He's George Washington. I don't hold him in high regard anyway, so this doesn't surprise me. It's par for the course for colonial bastards.
Okay. Let's keep going with Kent, who, as far as I know, doesn't use human teeth as dentures.
Well, not slave ones anyway.
They want. Any artist will tell you that. Jack Coazzo studied the Neanderthals very carefully. He went and studied the originals. He brought an X-ray machine with him. He's a dentist, studied 32 years. He studied the growth of the human face.
Why would you need an X-ray machine to study bone?
Like, there's no skin on it.
Yeah, like, what are you going to see with the X-ray machine that you weren't already seeing? I guess the root of the teeth? Because he's a dentist? Like, okay. I'm pretty sure that, like, the differences between Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalensis aren't down to how did the teeth grow. But maybe I'm wrong.
As an orthodontist. You know, when you put braces on a kid who's 12 years old, it'd be nice to know what his face is going to look like when he's 40 to make sure the teeth still work.
I just feel like an X-ray machine isn't a time machine, so maybe that's not going to do it, but I don't know.
You know, when I got braces when I was about that age, that never came up in any of the conversation with the dentist. Nope, not one time.
Huh.
And I went back every 2 weeks for 4.5 years to get those rubber bands changed. Never came up. Weird.
Well,
You don't want to arrange them so they look good when he's 12 and look bad when he's 40, right? So he studied all the original Neanderthals, the actual ones. He said, folks, the Neanderthals are nothing but old people with diseases.
Okay. We're going to go back to the, here we go. Mikey, you're only newly joined to the chat, so I want you to tell me if the skeleton on the left looks like the skeleton on the right after getting older.
I was in the chat for this part. I said the one on the left is Gimli.
Right, but you're only recently, I guess not the chat, but you're only recently in
Oh,
voice.
in the call.
Yeah, so now people
Yeah,
can hear you. So you've
Oh.
been elevated to a higher level.
See how that works?
Which
Yeah.
heaven would that be?
At least the fourth.
-8. Yeah, those are not the same because you said the ribs thing as I was saying the ribs thing to my screen
Right.
without my microphone plugged in. So, because I was like, yeah, when I get older, I just know my ribs just get all crazy.
Yeah.
They just start growing like mad.
They're just gonna spread out at the bottom. Yeah, it's just like you can't look at a Neanderthal skeleton and a Homo sapien skeleton and just be like, oh yeah, that's just how old people look. Because no, it's not.
Did Neanderthals have double butts?
I doubt it. I guess
Like
I don't know
gorillas.
for certain.
Gorillas have
Gorillas
double butts.
What is a double butt exactly?
They have the double butt. It's like 2 butts. It's like all muscle, and there's like a regular butt like we have, and then they have like an additional bigger butt of muscle on top of it. It's like the super butt.
I'm gonna have to take your word on that because unlike all you crazy apes, I'm a dinosaur, so I have a normal butt.
Double butt apes. And I'm on the government list.
Yep, but if you haven't been on the government list already, you're just not interested.
Right?
Before the flood, they lived to be over 900. After the flood, they still lived to be 400 years old. And then 200, and then 100. Well, the bones of your face never stop growing. Clausel's got an excellent book on that and videotapes on this topic. The bones of your eyebrow ridge grow all your life.
No, they don't. That's just a lie.
You don't notice it until you get to be 70 or 80 or 90 or 100 years old, but they start to stick out.
No, you don't even notice it then. What you might notice is that your muscles are decreasing in volume, and there are muscles above your brow ridges that help control your eyebrows. So your face might seem a little bit sunken, and also your orbits tend to decay away a little bit. Your eyes seem a little bit sunken, so you might look like you have bigger eyebrow ridges, but no, the eyebrow ridges do not increase in volume with age.
A person that lived to be 200 or 300 would have big eyebrow ridges. And the back of the head would elongate because of the muscles always pulling your head back where they attach.
No.
So the Neanderthals were nothing but perfectly normal humans who were living to be 200 or 300 years old.
You haven't explained the differences in proportions or the rib cage, Kent. Even if you were right, it would only explain the differences in the cranium. What about the rest of the skeleton?
They're not missing links.
You're right, they're not missing links, because one, they've been found, and no, they're not ancestors of Homo sapiens. So in both cases, I guess technically you're right, Kent.
Wait, what is his evidence for them being 200 or 300 years
The
old?
Bible says so, or whatever.
Obviously.
Exactly. His interpretation of the Bible requires that humans have literally lived
It's
that long.
literally
And-
true and scientifically accurate.
Right, and then he has just made up lies about the aging
And so he
process.
and so hence these guys here.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, Mikey, did you know about Bent's first playthrough of Mass Effect going on, like, nowish?
Ooh.
Yeah,
Not now, but like nowish.
Right, he has never played any of them until now, and he's doing his
Ooh.
first ever playthrough.
That'll be fun for you.
It's
So-
amazing
what-
so far, and I
so
don't
what
want any
happens in-
spoilers.
So what happens in the end?
What happens
And
in the end is
Wait,
red,
there's an
blue,
end?
or
I told
green.
you I don't want spoilers.
Ben, spoilers, red, blue, or green.
Oh, I'm not even talking so soon
The final boss.
because I don't want no spoilers.
Yeah, so, yeah, you should, Mikey, you should check out Bent on Twitch. He's, BenTM99 on Twitch. And, yeah, he might even stream after this. I don't know. I don't know how much longer we're going to go. We're at 2.5 hours, so we're going to go for a little bit longer.
Say that one more time.
He is, oh, Ben, could you link it in the chat, actually? Your
I think I can.
Okay.
Yeah, give me a
But it's twitch.tv/BENTM99. But hopefully Bent will put. Yep, there it is. Twitch.tv.
So I've done what,
Bentamanda.
four,
Yeah, you've done
four
4
of them.
episodes.
2 or 2 hours. I think one was only 1 hour, and then one was 3 hours. So I've done about 8 hours or so of gameplay, and
Yeah.
their VODs are there, and I also put them on the YouTube, which is, Benthoven-99.
You're probably
So-
getting up towards, like, getting close to the halfway point.
Yeah, but then I get to do Mass Effect 2 and then Mass Effect 3, so
Right.
there's a lot more to come.
Yeah, so if you haven't, check that out, because here's one thing. Mass Effects came out, 12 years and 2 weeks ago or so?
Something like that.
Yeah. So it's very uncommon to see a brand new playthrough. If you're into Mass Effect, you've already played it a bunch of times.
Yep.
This is someone who's really enjoying Mass Effect and who has never played. So he doesn't know what's going to happen. Like, you didn't kill the Arachnite, right?
Let's not talk about that.
Okay, well, that's going to come back. That's going to be a thing that has consequences later. I'm not saying what those consequences are, but that matters.
I let them live.
He loves ruining things like first
I
your
know,
turkey
people-
dinner. Now
You know
this.
how many spoilers he's given me already when I said no spoilers? They just come over and text message.
Virtually none.
Dinner tomorrow is going to
No.
be turkey. Spoiler alert.
I know. My
Spoiler.
spoilers have been like, oh hey, that will have consequences later. Or like, oh hey, there's a second game.
There's a second game?
Yeah. Spoilers.
No. He started the chat, or like the stream, by depressing everyone in the chat.
I
It was
did.
pretty
I went over how the life of a domesticated turkey goes, and it's dark. Yeah. I did start this out by being like, oh hey, so turkeys are basically tortured for a few months, and then they're killed. Hooray!
Crushed all my Christmas joy.
I know.
It is
You
the
get the
way.
book Buried Alive. You can get it from our website or on our catalog back there. Cro-Magnon man was perfectly normal in every respect. So why do they call that a missing link?
No one did. It's just a label that was applied for a few decades to anatomically modern humans found in Europe. That's it. That's all it is.
You put a suit and tie on him, walk him down the street, and nobody would look twice.
Well, you might have to
They've got
shave.
one in your textbooks now called Australopithecus africanus. That was proven wrong in
He can say
1970.
Australopithecus like that, but he can't say Neanderthal.
I know. But
That's
here's-
my point. I'm trying to
But,
make
but
a point.
here's the other thing. It was proved wrong. What do you mean it was proved wrong? It's still an actual species. What was proven wrong? It's like saying, oh, they put in your textbook Tyrannosaurus Rex, but that was proven wrong. Like, what was? You can't just say that was proven wrong and then have that make sense. That's not how any of this works. Okay.
73. It's not a missing link whatsoever. You picking up the sound there, Robin? Okay. To edit that out. 1973.
Forgot to edit that out.
I know. The thing is that he still says that now in his new videos. He's like, oh, let's edit this out. And then it doesn't happen. And the thing is, I know he has an editor.
Yeah, but maybe
Right.
he says it like 10 times as often, and we only hear like 10% of it. Because they do edit a bunch of
That's
them out.
possible. Yeah, he might just
It's
be
possible,
full of edits that we just don't see. Yeah, that's possible.
but it
Because
doesn't
we're
seem
proven.
likely.
No.
It can't be a missing link. They've got one in your textbooks now called Australopithecus afarensis, better known as Lucy. How many have ever heard of Lucy before?
Oh, me.
Donald Johanson found Lucy, Hadar Valley, Ethiopia, 1970.
I like that they actually cut to the audience and there was a guy who raised his hand.
Who knows what he actually raised his hand for?
Oh, that's true. I'm just gonna give him the benefit.
We don't even know if he was in that audience.
Who needs to go to the bathroom?
Me,
Guy
oh, I
raised
just
his hand.
Me, actually, honestly, because of all vodka.
All the vodka.
Yeah.
73. He went there on a grant to look for missing links. Somebody gave him some money and said, go.
Wait, hold on a second.
1973,
1973.
Australopithecus was proven. It can't be a missing link.
Okay, keep
They've
going.
got one in your textbooks now called Australopithecus afarensis, better known as Lucy. How many have ever heard of Lucy before? Donald Johanson
Lucille
found
Ball?
Lucy, Hadar
Yes.
Valley, Ethiopia, 1973.
Okay. Oh, this is Kent's slide. Site where Lucy was unearthed in 1974. Kent, you can't even read your own slides.
It's hard, very small print.
It's not though. It's like the biggest print on the slide.
Yeah.
I mean, he's nearsighted, farsighted. What-
Nearsighted
He
would
don't.
be the one.
He can't see that.
Well, is he wearing his glasses
Oh.
right now? Because
I
he should be.
I think he was, but it's just like, at least read your own slides right, Kent. I mean, come on.
Please.
Oh.
He went there on a grant to look for missing links. Somebody gave him some money and said, go to Africa and find some missing links. 2 weeks before his grant money ran out, he discovered Lucy.
Okay, do you have any evidence that Lucy was a hoax by Johansson? Like, any? Or are you just going to say, well, that was lucky? Because sometimes things that are lucky happen. In order to say that this was a fake find, which is what you're obviously implying, you actually have to have some evidence that it was faked. But I don't think you do, Kent. Because if someone was going to fake a missing link, I would have faked a much more convincing one.
I like how he highlighted grant money to show the corruption of taking money for research.
Man,
And if you go to
research money.
drdino.com, you can give me all your money.
Speaking of money, for months now, he's been like, oh, I haven't monetized my channel. I don't make any money from this. Please donate. Well, he's been starting some live streams with super chats. So he's monetized the channel now. So
That all goes right to Jesus's direct deposit.
yeah. Yep. Jesus' email is jesus@gmail.com.
No,
Send him money on
Jesus
PayPal.
at drdino.com.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Send him money on PayPal right now. Or send me money on anything. I don't know.
Don't send him money, buy his merchandise.
Right. Oh, Mike, did you know I got monetized?
And
recently?
send him money.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Look at you.
I know.
Congratulations.
Mikey got monetized too.
Did you?
On Mixer.
Nice. Congratulations.
Look at us. We're doing big things.
Yeah. We get rich and famous.
Yeah.
You're already famous, now you just gotta get rich.
He was highly motivated to find something, or he wouldn't renew his grant.
Okay.
Quite a long, interesting story about that. He's certainly not an unbiased observer in this situation. He said Lucy was a missing link. Actually, what he found was 40% of a skeleton that put together and alive would have been about 3 feet tall.
Okay, how tall do you think a transitional fossil between basal hominids and modern humans should be, Kent? Because, you know, the closest relatives of humans are only about 3 feet tall or so. And humans themselves are, 5 or 6 feet tall. So wouldn't it make sense that the earliest divergence between those two lines would be closer to the more basal condition, which is to be smaller? Basically, this argument is, Lucy was too transitional, so it's not transitional.
Too close to home.
Right. Lucy falls too closely into line with what we would expect from an evolutionary transition, so it's not one. And evolution got it so right that it must be wrong.
Obviously a chimpanzee or monkey type animal. He put the skull together.
Yes, it is a chimpanzee or a monkey type animal, because that's what you are, Kent. So a transition between other chimpanzee and monkey-like animals and a different chimpanzee or monkey-like animal would be chimpanzee or monkey-like. Again, evolution got it so right that it must be wrong.
Actually, the bones of the skull were so thoroughly crushed, they could not tell anything about what the skull looked like.
No, they were thoroughly crushed, but then they reconstructed them. Because unlike you, there are actually people who study comparative morphology, Kent. That's a real thing. Also, I don't know why Unidentified Leviathan keeps typing that word, but it doesn't have a whole lot to do with this, but let's keep going.
But in your textbooks, kids, they're going to show you a half-human, half-ape skull. Part of the propaganda machine.
Oh, in your textbooks, they're going to show you a half-lizard, half-reptile skull. It's part of the propaganda machine. Convince you that lizards evolved from reptiles. Yeah, that's exactly what Kent is saying there. It doesn't make any sense.
They've got going. He said the knee joint is proof Lucy could walk upright. Actually, the knee joint that was labeled Lucy's knee in National Geographic was the one found 1.5 miles away from Lucy.
Yeah, and you know what? Donald Johanson never claimed that that was the knee that was actually associated with the specimen of Lucy. However, Lucy does actually have a tibia and a femur. They're just from opposite sides, and since, I don't know if you know this, but apes are pretty darn symmetrical, you can mirror them to get a good idea as to how the actual specimen Lucy's knee would have fit together. But the fact that National Geographic got it wrong that this wasn't actually Lucy's knee is irrelevant, because it was a member of the same species as Lucy. So it's pretty reasonable to assume that her knees were like those of other members of her species. And yeah, it did in fact require her to walk upright habitually. However, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Unidentified Leviathan issued a challenge. She says, you don't know what a bonobo is?
I know what a bonobo is. It's Panpriscus, its sister Pentroglodytis, which is the common chimpanzee. They were sometimes called the pygmy chimpanzee or the gracile chimpanzee before the distinction between the species was understood. They are separated by a river primarily in what's now the Republic of the Congo, with the bonobos to be north. They are significantly more slender in build, both skeletally and in terms of their musculature. Also, bonobos tend to be less predatory in terms of their diet than the common chimpanzee. There are fewer of them, and bonobos have a much more sexually oriented social system than chimpanzees do, which tend to have a more conflict-oriented social system.
Just
So-
say you don't know. Just say you don't know. Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm going to need you to pick that mic back up because we still have some more stream to go.
Don't be dropping shit around here.
So there's actually not that much more stream. I'm gonna cut it off pretty soon. We've been on almost 3 hours, and I want to give everyone a chance to take a break, and including me, because this is longer than most of my streams have been, and I originally thought it was gonna be shorter than most of my streams. So we'll do some more Kent with Bent maybe this weekend, Kent or Bent, if you're up for it. I'm hoping to try and do something a little sooner in the day than typical.
Okay.
Mostly to help out my European fans who are often here at ridiculous hours of the night for them.
Okay.
So, yeah, we will coordinate with that. So that'll probably be the next thing that happens on my channel is hopefully a Saturday or Sunday stream Kent with Bent. We may or may not have other guests on. So, Ben, are you still planning on streaming Mass Effect?
No, not tonight.
No? Alright.
No.
So Ben is streaming Mass Effect pretty regularly. It seems like it's been most days. Got it.
At least half the days.
Okay, so check out Ben's Twitch. Get notifications on that. Subscribe to the Deviants. If someone can put a link to that in the chat, maybe Maya, you can do that.
And again, I do have 8 hours of gameplay already
Right, actually, link to
available.
Link to your YouTube channel.
Well, yeah, I can do that too.
Yeah, it's all
It's on the
there.
Twitch VOD, but also I can link it on the YouTube channel.
I guess do both. Also, currently, as far as the vote goes on what my next art project should be, Kilgrave from Pokemon Supply-a-Saur is at 50%. Turian from Mass Effect is at 44%. So, Ben, you are just not winning this one. Like, I'm probably going to say that by the end of the day tomorrow, that poll will essentially be closed. So, if you are on Ben's side and you want Turians to win, share the poll with your friends, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, there's Ben's Twitch. Can we get Mikey's... Yeah, Mikey on Mixer. There you go. So go... What do they call it on Mixer? Is it subscribing or following or what?
It is following on the Mixer.
Okay, so yeah, subscribe to Ben on YouTube. Follow both Ben and Mikey on Mixer... Or sorry, on Twitch and Mixer respectively. Check out coppermagma.com for Ben's spam.
Wait, I have to be a mature audience member?
Damn right. Because I say bad words, you're not going to copper me.
I'll be mature.
So yeah, coppermagma.com is Ben's fans page, and that is the music that I use as my intro and outro.
And it's free, so
Yes.
download it for free.
Subscribe to the C-Dad Show. Another thing you should subscribe to. We do Ben and I, as well as Duke Ellington, who's been in the chat, and Cheshire Vic. We do movie commentary tracks. And Lady Lumo says, what does a dinosaur eat for Thanksgiving? Other dinosaurs. Or, well, another dinosaur. Alright, thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate all of you showing up, but that's going to do it for me as we approach the 3-hour mark. Please have a good Thanksgiving if you are in the USA and celebrating. Otherwise, simply have a good Friday and a good weekend. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.